Hey, Dan, are we ready to go on YouTube?
Give me about 2 seconds. It's just
Okay, thank you.
uploading the feed. And we're all set.
Great, thank you. Patrick, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm calling to order the Narragansett Town Council regular meeting for July 6th, 2001 at 7:30 p.m. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
to the
And to
republic
the republic which stands
and one nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible, liberty, justice for all.
for all.
Amen. One and number.
All right, we're gonna start with a I lost my video. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'll go without video for now. We're gonna start with a moment of silence for Linda Rosero Osterhout, who passed away. So we can take a moment of silence. We'll start with that. Thank you. Next, we have the disclosure of executive session votes. So 2 votes to disclose. We have a vote to approve the bankruptcy in the Purdue Pharma LP case number 1923649, RDD Banker SDNY. That was approved 5-0. Motion. Janet, do you have the minutes on who made the motion and who seconded? I don't have that. Sorry about that.
Deborah and Deb.
Okay. Motion by Eva, seconded by Deb.
Yes.
All right, thanks. And then we have a vote to move forward and bring in applicants to interview for the town solicitor position. That was an approval of 5-0 as well. And I don't have the minutes on who made or seconded that motion. I don't know if you have that, Janet. Susan, you have that one?
I moved it, and then I think Eva helped me out. I think you
Deb
seconded
seconded.
it. Yeah, or Deb.
I think it was me.
It was Deb.
Okay. All
Deb
right.
seconded it. Thank you.
So, okay, great. Thanks, Janet. All right. So next we're gonna move on to the approval of
There
minutes.
was, Jesse, motion to
Yep.
seal the minutes. There was the motion to
Yes,
seal the
okay.
minutes. Mhm. There was also a vote.
We had a motion to seal the minutes.
And I made the motion
Who
to
was that?
seal.
And
I
Eva
seconded that
Joe
one.
seconded that.
Never
Seconded by Eva.
seconded.
And
Yeah.
that was voted all in favor, 5-0 as
Yeah.
well. All right. And everyone else. Approval of minutes. Start May 17th, 2001, regular meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion to approve the minutes. for
I'll
May
second
17th.
that.
All right, seconded by Eva. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Who's Jesse?
Yeah, let me just see. He was the last vote for those minutes. Uh-oh.
Hi, this is Jesse. Please leave a message and I'll give you a call back. Thank you. Bye.
What a night for technical
Oh,
difficulties. You guys hear
waiting
me?
on your vote, Mr. President. The
boy.
approval of May 17th minutes.
I'm not gonna touch anything at all. Oh my gosh. Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Thank you. Sorry about that. Next, we have the approval of minutes for June 7th, 2001 executive session.
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick. Patrick?
Oh, Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Next, we're going to move to announcements and presentations. We're going to start with a drinking water quality status update from our town engineer, John Gerhardt. I know a lot of residents have been kind of eager to get an update on the water quality. So John, appreciate you taking the time tonight. You can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Hey, thank you, Mr. President, and good evening to all the council members. I provided my last presentation in February. Just wanted to give an update, take this opportunity to provide the town with an update on where we stand and where we're moving to. Dan, if you would put the PowerPoint up and we can scroll through that. Thank you. This is the first couple of slides here are the same or very similar to what I started with in February. Just wanted to review those. The first slide here shows our water systems. We have the North End water system fed by Suez and North Kingstown, and then the Point Judith system, which we get water from Suez, and then also I show Suez also provides water directly to customers. So it's about that's the bulk of our town's water supplies, and most of the town in Narragansett is in the Point Judith, the highest quantity, and then the North End is smaller, and it's about a third, and a third with or a little less than a third in the North End between the three providers. We do not produce any of our own water, and we buy it all from either Suez or North Kingstown. Next slide, please, Dan. This is just to show those service areas again. The map on the left is the south end. The blue areas are the in both maps are areas that the town of Narragansett is the water department. The red areas are primarily Suez areas, and again, Suez has direct customers in the center portion of town, and the town of Narragansett has the north and south ends. Next slide, please, Dan. Am I still on, Dan? Next slide, please.
Yep, it should be up there.
Thank you. Yeah, I got the message. My internet connection is unstable. Hopefully we'll stay on here for this presentation. I can go through it quickly here. Again, this is just a summary of the disinfectant byproducts and the difficulties we're having and the concerns and what the criteria is. The bacteria contamination is why we disinfect. And we can't have a bacteria hit in any of the systems, or else that's a boil water order, and that's an immediate health supply issue. Department of Health requires Suez and the town to disinfect water to prevent bacteria contamination, and we both use chlorine as the disinfectant chemical. The higher temperatures in the summer increase the potential for bacteria, and the amount of chlorine required to disinfect the water increases accordingly. And when I say the Department of Health requires Suez and the town to disinfect, Suez applies disinfection chemicals at the wells, and then the town also applies when it comes into our system where we purchase it from Suez. Chlorine reacts with natural organic materials, the hydrogen carbon compounds in the water, and they form the disinfection byproducts, which is the concern we have in town, and the contaminants we're trying to resolve. The Department of Health drinking water regulations for disinfection byproducts and for disinfection chemicals, they have to balance the risk between the long-term health risks to TTHMs and the short-term risk of bacteria contamination. And the threshold, as everybody I believe is aware of, is 0.80 milligrams per liter. That's parts per million. And regulatory compliance is based on 4 consecutive quarters, an average over 4 consecutive quarters. So a year's worth of sample results averaged out over 4 quarters. Next slide, please, Dan. The current status, the number everybody's interested in is the number on the lower right-hand corner, which unfortunately is above 0.80, but you'll see it's not above by much. We are still, these are based on the June sample results, which we took in the beginning of June and got back in the middle of June. And unfortunately, we do have another violation, which was not unexpected based on the December results and prior history. What I would like to point out, though, and the reason I have this table here is to show you that we do take samples elsewhere in the system. The sample at 1460 Ocean Road, that's our compliance sample. And we're required to sample at an extreme point in the system that is essentially the worst condition in the system, with the understanding that if you're in compliance there, you're in compliance throughout the rest of the system. But since we've been having our difficulties, we're taking samples throughout the system to gauge where we have what's going on elsewhere in the system. And you'll notice that elsewhere in the system, from where we get it, when we receive the water from Suez to the 2 tanks, Point Judith and the Kinney Avenue tank, both on Point Judith Road, the sample results, with the exception of the last quarter, the September quarter, all the others, and one sample, the sample result at Ocean Road in December, all the other samples are less than 80. So it's not all the water in the water system, and it's just the snapshot in time that they gauge, and we have our violations with. So we have the last 2 quarters of our compliance sampling have been under 80, but again, we're coming into September, where we're going to have another high result due to the summer. If you'll notice the Q3 September sample of 9.0998, that's not unexpected. I'm sorry, in the summertime, but the next one over in December was unexpected. That's a very unusual result, and that's really why we're still in non-compliance. And we haven't really pinpointed where the issue was, but my hypothesis is that there was something unusual within the aquifer coming out of the drought from last season, where we had a high result in December that really was unexpected and unusual. But otherwise, everything is what's expected. And has been going along since we put the mixing system down at Point Judith, with the exception of that set of results. Next
John,
slide,
can I
please, Dan.
interrupt? I just wanted to ask you a question. So are those September samples usually predictable to be higher? I mean, that's pretty regular.
Yes, that's why, in general, we used to only sample in September, and that's because those are the worst results. And if your samples are okay in September, the reasoning is your samples will be good throughout the year. But with the increased disinfection that we've had to apply, and the state's required us to sample more frequently. But yes, that September,
Okay, I got it.
samples are the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst condition.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, please, Dan. This is the north end system, which we've had, we've got another violation in the based on the June results again and again. This is all triggered by the high result we had in December, which there really is no real smoking gun for what happened there. But we have the results, we know what they are, we reported, and we have the violation that we have to send the notices out for again. So, but again, the elsewhere in the system, the samples, they're in compliance the last 2 quarters, and we didn't take as many samples throughout the system because the system's smaller in the north end. And we took we took a sample at the north end tank, which is in close proximity to our sampling location at 1175 Boston Neck, and the samples were the same, results were the same. So we didn't want to spend money on collecting unnecessary sampling. And again, we've, for the last 2 quarters, for 6 months, we've had the system has been below the regulatory standard for TTHMs. The next slide, please, Dan. So that's the status of where we're at, and moving forward, continue to try and fine tune our operations and adjust everything to keep the disinfection chemicals as low as possible and try and lower our TTHMs as much as possible. We do have the hydraulic model project for the water systems that's underway, and the model calibration is complete. They're in the process of developing some long-term or longer simulations to utilize, and then they're also going to come out in July to do the chemical sampling, so they can establish the reaction times and the chemical reaction rates within the system, so that we can look at not only the locations where the TTHMs occur and where they're worse and problematic, but also to come up with develop the recommendations for how to improve them, and whether we'll have any changes to our treatment systems, locations, or the type of treatment systems, or have additional treatment at the tanks, or what else might be necessary. Another item is we are constantly trying to support Suez and their investigations. They're in the process of doing some modeling and some evaluations of their system as well, and we're collaborating with them as they get results in. Try and cooperate with them and come up with as much mutually beneficial action as we can. And the last item is we're maintaining coordination with Department of Health. We met with them in April after our previous quarter's results came in to review our corrective action plans, and they're on board with us with what we're doing and how we're proceeding. And they understand that the process does take time, and the next step, aside from the operational practices of flushing the system and those type of quick actions that we can take, the modeling project and the major treatment or major design recommendations will take a little longer to develop. And again, like I said, we've had 2 good quarters in a row, but we had a really unexpected result in December where we're still in non-compliance. And that's the bulk of my presentation. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, John. Yeah, I'll just go around the council real quick to see if anyone.
So I just want to thank you, John, for the periodic updates on what's going on with the system, because I know people in the town are very concerned. I'm glad to see, we're making some corrective action plans, and there's a level of accountability with you and the Department of Health. And so I'm happy, and I think we got to keep, working towards it. And I'm glad that we're doing those additional samplings, and glad the numbers are starting to go in the direction that we're hoping for. So thank you for that extra work. And it's important to keep the residents and the council updated on, it's such a big issue for the residents. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Comments from the council?
No, thank you. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Patrick, anything?
Yeah, John, if a homeowner is concerned or a business, they can just get a basic charcoal filter and put it in the just after the meter inside their home, and that should take care of clean up any of those TTHMs, correct?
Generally, yes, a charcoal filter would be what's necessary. If they're going to purchase a filter, you want to check to see if it can treat and remove VOCs, volatile organic compounds. If they're just concerned with drinking, they could put it on the kitchen faucet tap, or even use, a Brita pitcher type filter, anything like that.
Right, but the amount above the baseline is so minuscule that, what do you think? It doesn't have a lot of effect on most people, or what do you think?
Well, the regulatory standard is set at 80, but it's based on the 4 quarters. But the risk is for a long-term, drinking water at or above that level, every day for 70 years. So that's why I wanted to show that the last two sets of samples throughout the system
Fair enough.
have been within compliance. So the water that is being delivered is not above the regulatory level all 100% of the time here. We have the bad samples in the summer. We had some, and initially what kicked it off in the south end was after the boil water order in 2018. There was some aftermath and waves after that. That's when we started and had a little difficulty getting ourselves back into controlling the TTHM. So, but even with that, when we were above for several quarters at that time, but we have gotten it back in below the limits again for the last 2 quarters, and especially with the mixing system we installed at the Point Judith tank.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, I think that's what you just said was kind of the real takeaway here, which is when you receive that notice, if you live in that part of town, you receive the notice. The thing to remember is that the water that you're drinking right now is far below the required standard in terms of quality, meaning better quality than the required standard. So hopefully September will show us some good numbers. I know you said, it's always higher, but even if it's slightly lower than last time, just slightly, that could keep us below that 0.08, right?
Yeah, in both systems, we can be above the regulatory limit and return to compliance, but it'll be difficult to do that based on the previous year samples. Again, we're in that 95 to 100. I believe the Point Judith around 93 would put us right at 80, and maybe like 87 or 88 in the north end. So it's again, the December sample results coming in above 90 were shocking when we got them, and they're still, they're the ones that are going to keep us from going back into compliance rapidly.
Okay.
Jesse, can I just say one thing? I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't think about
Yep.
this before. But John, one of the things that you said kind of struck me was that, you think that what happened in December may have had something to do with the extended drought last year. It doesn't look like we're in that same circumstance this year. So at least this will begin to tell whether or not that was, that's a good hypothesis or not, right?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Like I said, when we saw those results, I was looking for anything being different, and even it really seemed like that was a point in time when those results came in that we collected ours about the same time on the same day as Suez does, and all our results were up. But I think the inlet sample at Point Judith was not as high as the one in the north end, and I think the age of the water is a little more up there, but there was a lens. It's almost like you talk about a slug of water coming through where when we get dirty water in the past where it stirs up, oh, we'll just flush it out, it gets through. So there was really no rhyme or reason to those results, other than I thought it possibly that the when the waters were recharging and the groundwater levels were coming up, we came through a lens of material there, because I think South Kingstown gets their water from Suez as well, and they had some higher results, but not as high as ours, because they take the samples at the same time or later, and the water's past them from when they collected it.
Thank you.
John, can you put the PowerPoint up on the website so people can see? There's I don't know how many people are on tonight, but just definitely people are interested. So if you could get it up there, then people could read, see the difference in the numbers, and just see your information, which I think would be helpful.
Dan, you're listening, right?
I am.
All right. Well, thank you, John. And we'll make sure
Thank you, John.
have you do another one of these in the fall to keep everyone updated on those results as well. So thanks again.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Next
you.
up, we have a library project update from the chair of the Library Board of Trustees, Lori Kelly. So Dan, if you can move her over as a panelist, she can go ahead and do that.
On the way.
Okay. Am I on now?
You're on.
All right. Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome. Once again, a brief update on the library project, but first I do want to thank the town council for inviting us to use this space of announcement space to keep the public regularly informed. We also have tonight 2 library-based motions on the agenda, so I'm not going to speak about that. We'll talk about those when those agenda items come up. So this is just a general overview again. We have continued to refine the design of the Belmont space using obviously the architectural firm HBM. HBM has just submitted a first draft schematic design to OLIS for informal review and comment. And this is because by keeping the state kind of in the loop, we hope to speed up the design portion of this project. And of course, we're hoping to maximize our reimbursement from the state, because the board selected this by predicated on getting the up to 50% reimbursement from the state of Rhode Island. And going back to 2010, 2011, we started with the needs assessment and our library consultant, and this is just another way to remain flexible with the state. Now, there's a big advantage to us with having the state's input as well, because they have built libraries all over the state. They know where a children's room should go, and red flags in some of the design that we might stumble into. So again, this is just, like I said, an informal review so that the design is still flexible at this point. If they say, that's not really a good idea, then we can move it. This document also conveyed, the engineers all came down and went through the building. So it conveyed the equipment and systems that are there, what will be supplemented and reconfigured. Obviously, the library needs a lot of, IT cables. We're Wi-Fi everywhere. There's a lot of stuff that has to be thought of at this point while we're a shell. So that's going to be reviewed also by the state overview. And HBM has also found a way to add more square footage in the footprint of the library building. So we're back up to about the 21,000 square feet that was recommended in the needs report originally. And that's important because if we don't meet all of the things specified in the needs assessment, our reimbursement could go down. I mean, if we didn't have parking, then we'd be penalized for that. So we're in pretty good shape. I wish I could share the plans with you right now, but because we're still moving the director's office 3 feet to the right and, kind of tweaking things, we cannot show the public, the floor plans right now because they're too tentative. But this announcement area will be great because I will be able to have, a PowerPoint when that fleshes out sometime, hopefully during this summer. I hope we'd have some tentative plans. Right now, I have to confess, I didn't think of where the garbage dumpster or recycling is going to go on that property. So there's a lot of technical stuff that we're trying to fit into a very small area. So that we're still working on that. But there will be more coming, and everyone involved in it is very excited about how it's going. It's going very well. On the fundraising front, I just want to remind everyone, those who've made pledges to the Belmont project, we do need to have cash deposited probably around November 1st. So if you can start, getting your checkbooks out with that in mind, because when this application goes to OLIS, which November 1st would probably be the absolute earliest we could do it, we need to have, $1 million supplementing the 5.8 bond, because that's what our project looks like right now. And we have to be able to show that we are fully funded on this project. So we have a lot of pledges. We just have to now start telling people, okay, now is the time to bring them in. And also we do have a new matching grant, which I cannot announce tonight, but please stand by and look for the newspaper articles, because just like the Terry Murray Foundation had a matching grant, there's another big donor in town that's going to have another Save Our Library matching grant. And I'm sure everyone loves to give money when they know that, it's going to be doubled by someone in the community. So that's the update. Once again, thanks to the town council, and we'll keep you informed. Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, moving on. We have a public hearing scheduling for 8 o'clock. So we have a motion to schedule a public hearing on a petition from New Dragon Incorporated, DBA New Dragon, 80 Point Judith Road, Narragansett, Rhode Island, Plat P, Lot 324, to allow live entertainment on the premises. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, so we will be looking to schedule this for August 2nd, first August meeting. And again, this is just a scheduling motion. So are there any questions or comments from the council? I'll start with Susan.
No, all set.
Eva?
All set.
All right, Deb?
No,
All right, and Patrick? Nope, okay. I don't see any hands up.
All set.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any hands up. So we'll go ahead and take the vote. All in favor for scheduling this for August 2nd at 8 p.m. Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Deb?
Aye.
One day. Deb?
Aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
And Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. All right. Now we are at open forum, public comment. So if anyone in the public would like to speak on any items not on the agenda, please raise your hand now and we will take your comments. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Dan, who do we have first?
First, we have Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Dan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I just would like to talk a little bit about liberty and justice for all. I want to talk about justice. You know, we have a tax assessor, tax assessment issue. There's a lot of work that go into tax assessing. And this allows for people to pay different amount of taxes based on different assessments. And that provides a justice for all. You know, I think businesses pay more per square foot than residential, I think. So they may be taxed a little more, let's say, than the residential. But again, it's the assessor who's making a determination on the differences of taxation. And therefore, it's just. He's got to be careful on how he does it to make sure it's just for everybody. If there's some problem, of course, you go and argue it, you know. Now, that brings me to the point where I don't like the idea of tax levels. Now the government, you create different tax levels in a discriminatory fashion. It's unjust to discriminate by getting different levels for different peoples, if you will. That's not just. The assessment squared away all the differences. One tax rate is the only just way to continue. And you just made a pledge for justice for all. That means one tax rate is the just way for all. And if I have to say that if you don't go back to one tax rate in a just fashion, if you continue to discriminate, then please do not say justice for all in your pledge, because you're not following through. So I just hope that you would stop the discrimination in our tax policy, which North Kingston and South Kingston seem to be doing well with. You know, it's nobody's out there ranting about injustice, but I'm ranting about injustice when there's a discrimination going on with very little controls, where the assessor, he has to make sure that it's done right. It's not just some factor taken by politicians, you know? So please, let's go with justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Dan, who's up next?
Next, we have Catherine Siliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I want to direct this to Eva. I think I've been a little bit too hard on you. I forget that you've only been on the town council 6 months and there's a learning curve. and I don't mean to be harsh, and I think sometimes I've been harsh with you. So I guess I'm apologizing. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Catherine. Who do we have up next, Dan?
Next is Dr. Alba.
Al, please state your full name and address.
Sure, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett, Rhode Island. This past weekend, we had a delicious dinner at George's of Galilee. Beautiful views, beautiful scenery, fresh air, the ocean. It was a wonderful time. I hope that the Prakasanti group will reconsider. I hope that the town council continues to contact the AG's office to continue to reach and work out with the Friends of Galilee, that we work collectively. In fact, I will even invite Mr. Prakasanti and all of his board members. I will pay for their dinner to any of the Galilee establishments, restaurants. They could choose Champlin's, George's, any of the fine restaurants over there. We can go over there, enjoy a nice dinner, won't cost them a cent. We could take a nice walk down to the fishermen, have them meet the fishermen. I'll gladly do that to see the beautiful village we have over there, so that they will hopefully decide to do the right thing and make a showcase for the gem of the village we have, Galilee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Alba. Anyone else, Dan?
That's it.
That's it. Okay, great. Okay, so moving on to consent agenda. We only have 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. Are there any items that any council member would like to remove? Okay, so all in favor to approve of the consent, or is there a motion to approve? The consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
and Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Under new business, human resources, we have a motion to approve the filling of 1 vacancy, water operator, within the water division. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Eva. Any questions from the council?
None.
Okay. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 5 from the police department is a motion to approve the purchase of 1 Eventide event or audio recording system and annual support agreement for the police department from Interaction Insight Corporation in the amount of $25,198.31. Do we have a motion?
The motion.
Second that.
Seconded by Eva. Any comments from the council?
Is the chief on, the audio recorder, I just was wondering for 25,000, a little more about that recorder. Is he on or no?
He's not on, but he asked me to speak to if there's a question. It records the radios and the phones for both police and fire.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Holland.
You're
Well
welcome.
Multi-talented. All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. From the fire department, we have a motion to approve the purchase of 1 new 2021 Ford Explorer XLT 4-wheel drive base 4-door vehicle from Colonial Municipal Group and 1 Lightning package and gearbox from Global Public Safety in the total amount of $44,575.95. The Explorer equals $36,207.95, and the lighting gearbox is $8,368. Do we have a
I'll move the
motion?
motion.
Is there a second? Seconded by Eva. Any questions or comments from the council? There is a hand up. Dan, who do we have?
We have Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Dan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I just wanted to ask if there was a possibility to get a new vehicle, last year's model, so we would get a better price. You know, I hear about so many vehicles out there. So if we could get one with 0 miles on it, last year's model, maybe we'd get a reduction of $5,000. Was that ever looked at? Just curious.
Thank you, Stanley. Chief, are the, okay, are the 2022s out yet?
We had to order this in advance. I believe it is a 2022. It will be, I believe. And we had to put this order in now to be able to secure it in time for it. We weren't able to find anything suitable to replace this in the inventory, so we had to place this order for a new car.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Chief. Looks like we have a few other hands up. Dan, who's up next?
Catherine Siliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. I don't know if I'm getting disconnected here. Is it possible that we could buy this with the federal money that we're getting rather than take it from the budget? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Because Stanley's head just exploded when you said we're buying a 2022 and not even a 2021. I'm just wondering if we can use some of that money to purchase this vehicle. Thank you.
Catherine, we can follow up on that before we vote. Dan, who do we have up next?
Next is Dr. Alba.
Al, please state your full name and address.
Sure, Dr. Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace, Narragansett. Yeah, I second, I know, Chief, it's probably too late this time around, but I think not only for the police department, but for all vehicle purchases. I know when I'm trying to keep my car, I tell my students, I want to keep my car until it dies or until I die, because cars, they depreciate so much. As soon as you drive them off the lot, they drop considerably in value. Plus also, the longer you keep your car, the less taxes you have to pay on them, which is an added savings. But going down the road for schools, departments, and all of our departments, it might be something I strongly consider when I do buy a car. The few times I have bought a car, I do try to get last year's model because it's a brand new car, 0 miles on it. But because they're trying to unload them, sometimes you do get sometimes significant savings. So thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, Jesse, if I may, the quarter price is a 2021. So I'm sorry. So it is a 2021, and we will be using the car that's being replaced. We will also be using that. We'll be keeping that in the fleet, so that will be used as another administrative car for the fire inspectors primarily. The current car it's coming up on eight years of age. It's got about 103,000 miles on it right now, and fire marshal is on it constantly. It's essentially used a lot like a police vehicle that's always on the road, logging miles, so going to and from inspections, and so it's high mileage right now. So we'd like to replace it now, so we can reuse the other one and keep the other one in the fleet.
Thank you, Chief Partington. A couple things to think about here. I think there were some good points made. One thing I want to just stress, or not stress, but just make a point is this was budgeted in the capital projects account. So we had this actually in there to replace. The other thing about the American Rescue Act funds, which maybe Chris could speak on, because I know it's a little bit complicated and we're still really early on in that. I remember we talked about this a few months back, and I'm not sure if this is the case or not, but there was a thought that if towns had already budgeted for something, if something was already in their budget that they were going to purchase, that you cannot use the rescue money for that. It would have to be for new infrastructure projects. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that is true, we've already budgeted for this specific purchase, which would exclude it from being used in that for that American Rescue money. But I don't know if that's accurate or not. Chris, do you remember anything talk about that?
Sure. Well, right now, I just want to say that the interim final rule is what's still out there. And it's before they make it finalized, it's out for public comment, which is comes back around July 16th. So we won't even have a final rule until maybe August. But as far as if it's budgeted, it had to be budgeted before March 3rd, 2021. And again, the rules keep changing, and we'll have a good amount of money that we can plan one-time future projects on. It doesn't have to all go in 1 year. We have until 2026. So as new information becomes available, I'll work with Jim on getting that out to you. But if it's still interim, they keep changing every week. I'm still listening to the phone.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Any other questions from the council?
Jesse, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so the pricing that we get through the municipal and government through these procurements that we use, whether it's Colonial Group that the chief's using or Sourcewell or any of those there, the pricing that we're getting at a municipal, when we order a new vehicle, truck, car, van, whatever type it is, we're getting discount pricing direct from the manufacturer. So the prices that we're paying for these vehicles, nobody in the public could go on a lot and buy what we're buying them for. We're buying them a lot less than what anybody could go on a regular lot and buy these vehicles for. We're anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 less than dealer price. We're buying direct from the manufacturer.
Okay.
That's a great point, Mike. Great point.
And Mike, that would just apply to new, right? That's not, obviously that wouldn't be used. You'd have to buy the new to get that discount, correct?
You have to buy them brand new, order them to get that discount. That's not off anything that's sitting on a lot somewhere. And most of the time, anything that we're looking for, they don't have sitting on the lot that meets our specifications.
Great. Good point, Mike. Thank you. Okay. Any last comments before we vote? All right. So all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 7 from Finance Department is a motion to approve the annual service agreement between the town of Narragansett and NIHART to provide the required other post-employment benefits, OPEB, annual evaluation report in the amount of $13,900 and authorize the town manager to sign the contract. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
I'll second.
Seconded by Eva. Any questions or comments from the council? All right. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Trzynski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
And Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 8 is a motion to approve the annual service agreement between the town of Narragansett and NIHART to provide the required pension plan annual valuation reports in the amount not to exceed $42,200 and authorize the town manager to sign the contract. We have a motion.
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Eva. Any thoughts, questions, or comments from council members? All right, Dan, who do we have from the public?
We have Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, please state your full name and address.
And Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I know we've used NIHART and we have a lot of confidence in them for many years, I guess. But sometimes I'm wondering if we should also look at other persons that could do the same thing for less money. Did we go out for a bid on doing this I always like to go out and get 3 bids whenever I do anything. And I know we feel comfortable with NIHOP. We've been doing it forever. And it's nice to see the old logs just updated, and it's comfortable. I know that. But I just would, just asking if there a possibility of a quote, try to get somebody to bid on to ensure that NIHOP's prices are in line with what's out there. Thank you.
Can I say something, Jesse, or?
Thank you, Stanley. Sure, Chris, you can go ahead.
Sure. We are actually looking at that right now. Dan and I have been looking at some software that helps with labor planning and some GASB reports around OPEB and pension. And we have just recently pulled out the original RFP for these services. So we are actually looking at it. It's just going to take a little bit.
Thanks, Chris. All right. All in favor, starting with Susan?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Rich Krasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
And Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 9 from the Parks and Recreation Department is a motion to approve the Boston chapter of BMW CCA Rhode Island Group's request for a show and shine car show at Veterans Memorial Park on Sunday, August 15, 2001, subject to state and local laws.
I'll move the motion.
All right.
I'll second.
All right. Motion by Susan, seconded by Eva. If there are any questions on this, Michelle is on and can help answer anyone's questions or concerns. Any council members?
All set.
I got a question. It's kind of off topic, but whatever happened to Calamari Festival? Is that a dead duck or what? Anybody?
Yeah, we all received an email actually on that. Jim could give us an update though.
Yes, good evening again, everybody. Yeah, the chamber notified me that they were not going to have it on the 12th. That was the notice that I received and passed along. That was it. There was no other information available.
Too bad.
All right, thanks, Jim. All right. Any other council member questions on this event? Okay, it looks like there's a hand up. Dan, could you move over to Catherine?
Yep. Catherine Celeberto.
Catherine Celeberto. Oops, sorry.
Sorry.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I don't have any objection really to these people coming down here and doing this. I just like to know how the Boston BMW Club landed in Narragansett on our Veterans Park to do this exhibit here. I'd like to know how that happened. If anybody knows.
Thanks, Catherine. I know this is the 10th annual, so there's a history here, but Michelle, if maybe you might have a little background on that history.
I think basically it's location, location, location. Obviously, our town provides this beautiful gazebo park area, and what a nice place to show off your new or old BMW along the ocean. So I believe it all involves the location, and obviously this group being able to park their vehicles on the grassy area there, of course, being very gentle with the area. They know that they're not driving around. They're quietly and silently parking the cars along that grassy area. And the show only goes for a couple of hours, and they take a lot of pictures, and it's pretty much over by 4 o'clock. And they're only expecting about 25 to 30 cars. And they're going to be BMW makes, models of all different various kinds and sizes and antiques, etc. And they give out prizes amongst themselves. So again, to answer Catherine's question, it's all about the location.
Thanks, Michelle. And also there's no entrance fee, so
Correct.
A little something interesting for residents to go check out. That is not the beach on a weekend. All right, thank you. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Drushinsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
And Patrick.
Patrick Moore, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 10 is a motion to approve the beach security camera upgrade to be completed by LANtel Communications Incorporated in the amount of $37,741.90.
I'll move the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the council?
So I just wanted to ask Michelle, it's replacement of the cameras in the north and the south, correct? An upgrade for both?
Actually, it's actually an upgrade of both systems, and I'm very excited, and I hope you do pass unanimously. I wanted to add that recently, one of our taxpayers, our resident taxpayers, their vehicle was struck in the north lot. And it was during the day. We could have easily captured it on camera had we had a little better of a camera system. So unfortunately, I had to report to her that the video that we have presently did not show enough of that area to be able to see, to potentially get the year, make, and model of the vehicle that struck her car. So I was sorry to report that to her. So again, these cameras are going to be installed to get better footage of the lots in several different directions, both at the north and the south. And I'm not sure if you're aware, a few weeks ago, some individuals somehow got themselves on the beach right behind the South Pavilion and tore up our blue handicap accessible mat. And they actually got so stuck that they tried to break apart the mat to use it as leverage to get off the beach. And our surveillance footage was helpful in that particular incident. So I'm hoping that with this new upgrade, again, it's additional cameras, which will support our existing system. And I think it's a necessity these days. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
I think it's great.
Okay. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. For 11 is a motion to approve the updated job description of the Parks and Recreation Event Coordinator. We have a
I'll
motion.
move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Deb Kopek.
All right. Any questions from the council?
No, I'm just glad to see this job description for the event coordinator. It fits the job.
Okay. Any other questions from council members?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick,
Patrick Moore, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And number 12 is a motion to approve Daisy McLeod, event coordinator, to be promoted to a full-time employment position with benefit package.
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Patrick. Any questions from the council?
I just had one. First, I'm thrilled for Daisy. This is long overdue. I think she does a phenomenal job, and I'm happy to see that she's going to finally be full-time. I just had a question for Daisy. She gets benefits. Does she get a pension with this position? Is it a full-time with pension?
She does not, Susan, so I can speak to this. So this would be a promotion to full-time status with benefits. Currently, she gets medical, but no dental, no vacation, no sick, no personal. She's got to squeeze it all in within 40 hours. She cannot go over 40 hours at this point. So again, this is a position that is a non-union position.
Excellent and well-deserving. So I'm all set. I'm thrilled for Daisy.
Susan, Michelle, just to be clear on just one thing, it's the same benefits that's offered to the towers coordinator. So she does have an opportunity to participate in the pension system as that, even though it's the same benefits provided to the SMT members.
Okay.
But that's the only change other than that.
Okay. So she can if she wants to be a part of it.
Correct, but she has
As a
not.
town, as a municipal employee, correct?
as a town employee, correct?
Yeah, okay. Got it. That's great.
Thank you.
All right.
I do
ahead,
have one
Kath.
comment.
I'm sorry, was there an assessment and what the impact is going to be? Like, so we're saying she may be part of the pension. So I was just curious to see if anyone did an assessment on what impact that would have.
At this point, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to say at this point, the employee, Daisy McLeod, has not mentioned anything about being part of the pension system. She's extremely happy, I believe, hopefully to get approved to full-time status with benefits. And again, I think moving forward, I can't speak for her, exactly right now, but I think she's going to be extremely happy if she gets approved tonight for the full-time status. But again, if you would like, we could certainly do that breakdown.
Yeah, so I'm just curious because I know, like, from just working in management positions, I know every time you add benefits, it's a percentage of what their base salary is, and there was no supporting documentation of what that impact is going to be in the end. I know she had benefits. Believe me, I think she's great. So I'm just curious because I do like having supporting documentation of what the impact is going to be, especially if she does have the option to be in the pension plan. It's not totally funded. So I just think we as a town and the residents would want to know that.
May I speak to some? The position of the Kinney Bungalow part-time coordinator also was clearly operating beyond the scope of the original job description, basically holding two part-time positions for the town, but working for the town, 2 20-hour positions totaling 40. And there was a discussion with the former Parks and Recs director and talking to other town employees. This has been being knocked around for quite a while. And as we saw that the position had grown to this level, that it was appropriate to offer the same benefit package that is offered to anyone else who works full-time for the town. That's what we came up with. And we did run it by finance. We met with finance and came up with the dollar figures. But basically, the person that's holding the job now is working full-time, even though on paper it says it's not a full-time job, but it's based on the old job description.
Jim, I had a question. Is she kind of like a hybrid senior management team type thing? I mean, she's kind of
position.
She's not really like an employee. She runs like a sub department there, correct?
Basically, it's a sales and almost like a sales and management business coming into the town to provide a quality service to people, venues. Very unique position. It's very similar to the towers coordinator and the events that were run over the last few years. There were 20. You can't really consider 20 too much, but 2018 and 19, 249 events that were handled by the person in that position, and the towers are 234 events. There is a dollar difference, but they seem to have a good fund balance. And one of them, half of the financing of the position comes from the beach fund, and then the other from the Kinney Bungalow fund.
So basically, it's a non-union position.
It is a non-union position,
Okay.
and I did have the discussion with the union representative about it, and I explained to them that in the event there was some type of a revolt, to make it a union position, there's nothing preventing the council from reverting it back to something else.
Right.
But those discussions were had. So.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Deb, I think you had your.
Yeah, I'm all set. That's okay. I'm all set.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and take some public comment. Who do we have first, Dan?
First is Catherine Ciliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. First, I don't think Daisy was working 2 20-hour positions. I think she was working 37 and a half hours. And the statement by Jim, I'm really surprised. He had a discussion with the union rep, and if she chooses to try to join a union, then her position reverts back to this tentative type position here where she didn't have benefits. That's extortion. That is absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe you made a statement like that, Jim, really. But again, I'm happy that this is finally happening. I know Susan put this on the agenda years ago when she was on the town council, and it was just so much unnecessary discussion. This girl works. She works 37 and a half. Well, she did then, 30, probably working more now. And you're trying to downgrade what she does to essentially a sales position, a non-union type sales position. And that is not what she does. I think this is really long overdue. I think she should be able to join the union if she wants to. And frankly, you know, she has to go into the pension system as a municipal employee. That's all I have to say. You know, this girl has been working in this, you know, tentative position for long enough. Thank you.
Well said, Catherine. Couldn't agree with you more.
Yes. Could I just follow up as part of the public comment, please?
Go ahead.
In no way I have complete confidence in the person that holds that role now. And it is very the equivalent of roughly two 20-hour-a-week jobs. And she's done an excellent job in it. And there's been a move for many years to make this the full-time status that it deserves, comparable to the position over at the towers, with full benefits that are applied to SMT. By no way did I imply that someone would be prohibited from joining the union. This job is written up as a non-union position because of its very unique status with the crazy hours that this person puts into this job, and does a great job at it. And I am a proud advocate for this being passed by the council.
Thanks, Jim. Dan, who do we have up next?
Next is Narragansett Chamber of Commerce.
All right, please state your full name and address.
Peg Fredette, 110 Gibson Avenue, Narragansett, Rhode Island.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry that I was late in coming. I didn't realize the Calamari Festival was going to be brought up, or the contest was going to be brought up tonight. So was there a question that someone had for me? I apologize that I didn't respond earlier.
No, I don't think so. Patrick was just curious of what the status was. Jim answered that question. It was a kind of an offhand comment, but that's the only thing that was brought up.
Okay. So is everyone clear on what's going on or not going on, or can I clarify?
Yeah, this item is for a full-time job position with the towers.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
That's where you're
sorry, not
right.
yeah, with the event coordinator. So this isn't about the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay. I know there was something that came up off topic, so that's the only reason why I'm sorry I called in. So, okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Peg. Dan, who do we have next?
Next is Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, please state your full name and address.
Dan Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I want to commend the town manager for paying attention to personnel costs. I understand we have a lot of good employees and potential employees. I understand that. But it's typical government is add more people, which is just going to get our tax way out of whack. I don't know how we compare with other towns, but we have good people. I know that, but I just don't think that we ought to just start paying big bucks to all the good people we know, and which is going to greatly affect my tax dollar. So I commend him in looking at the details to provide a good person with a job that she likes and can do, and still not heavily impact our tax dollar. And so I'm in terrible disagreement with Ms. Alberto there. And the town manager is doing an excellent job. Thank you very much, and continue to watch over the costs of personnel and other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. I just want to make a correction. I misspoke for a second. This is not the towers coordinator. Daisy handles the North Beach Clubhouse and Kinney Bungalow. Just want to make that clear since I misspoke. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is definitely a long time coming. It's the right thing to do. It's the fair thing to do. Daisy works basically 40 hours, and just because she's paid from 2 different town departments doesn't make it 2 part-time jobs. That would kind of be taking advantage of the employee, I think, by continuing to do that. So she is definitely in line to be considered for this full-time. This is a full-time position. Whether it gets benefits, whether it gets pension benefits or not, it's still not fair to create a job that is thought of as paid in 2 separate ways as a part-time job. It's just not the fair thing to do for anybody, I don't think. Are there any other comments from the council?
Yeah, I got a comment. For the record, that the Kenny Bungalow, I don't even know why we're in the wedding business, so we don't make any money over there. Actually, if I remember the numbers, we actually lose money over there. So I don't even know why we're in the wedding business in the first place. I think we should take that building, lease it out by the month to a private entity and let them run it, and they pay us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
I
other
just
questions
want to
before
say,
we
no, I
vote?
just want to say, I think Daisy's an asset, and I think Catherine was correct in saying that it was long overdue. I did try to support this motion a couple years ago, and so I'm really think it's overdue for her. So I hope that everybody will support her and the work that she's doing for the town.
It's
All right,
not,
thank you.
I'm gonna say, it's not that I don't support Daisy. She does a great job, but the problem is we're creating events where the town is not making any money off. So we're creating activity, which is fine, but to what end? I mean, so that was my point a few years ago. Daisy is doing a great job. I got nothing, and I congratulate her. I'm gonna support her, consolidating her position. It's just that we need to take a look at these things. We can't be, a wedding planner when we're not supporting the building. We're not supporting the asset. We're not supporting the cost. That's not what the town should be in business with, for the record. Thank you.
All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Yeah, I think Daisy's great. I think she does a great job and she deserves it. So Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye. Congrats, Daisy. Thank you.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 13 from Public Works is a motion to approve a petition from National Grid and Verizon New England to install new pole 68-1, a jointly owned pole with sustaining and protecting fixtures to provide service to a new residence, 18 Juliet Road. Is there a motion?
I'll move
Move
the
that motion.
Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
Second by Patrick, moved by Susan. Any questions or comments?
No.
None.
All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 14 is a motion to award the bid for unleaded gasoline, 0.065 increment over OPD, oil price daily, and diesel fuel, 0.065 over OPD to Peterson's Oil Service Incorporated through June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan
Second.
Cicilline Bonanno.
Second by Patrick. Any questions from the council?
No.
All in favor? Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
That's right.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. From IT, motion number 15 is a motion to approve the annual agreement for Barracuda Unlimited Cloud Backup Storage and Support for fiscal year 2022, purchased through Zones LLC in the amount of $10,621.68.
I'll move the motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Seconded by Eva. Any questions from the council for Dan? All right, all in favor? Susan?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 16 is a motion to approve the annual software maintenance agreement for his fiscal year 2022 with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $18,873.31.
Move the motion.
For a second?
Second.
Seconded by Eva. Any questions for Dan? Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. From engineering, we have a motion to approve the electrical work to relocate the buried electric service to the Congdon wastewater pump station on Plat D, Lot 205-1A, to be completed by E.W. Audette and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $20,200. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Second.
Second by Eva. Questions or comments from the council?
John, that 20,000 comes from the wastewater fund, is that correct? Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Cicilline Bonanno. Yeah, the operating account for the pump stations, so it's out of the capital or the operating account for the pump stations.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Any other questions from the council members? Okay, all in favor, start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva,
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb,
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick.
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 18 is a motion to approve the contract amendment with HBM Architects LLC for additional architectural engineering services in the amount of $90,000. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so this is related to the Belmont project. This is something that we had mentioned early on, actually, where we hired the architecture firm. But I'm going to let John from engineering just give us a quick summary for council members that aren't totally briefed on it. John, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Yes, it's summarized fairly well in the blue sheet. We awarded the contract in April to HBM. Their contract is, design contract is for a fixed fee design amount to design to a fixed construction budget based on the available funds that were left of $3.4 million after the purchase of the Belmont building. And as the library board president Lori Kelly mentioned in her announcement that the board is committed to $1 million in additional funds. So that based on that $1 million of additional funds, the design contract can increase or can account for those additional funds and increase the construction budget by $1 million or the project budget by $1 million. To do that, the architect needs some additional funds to expand the scope of their design, and their proposal had a 9% of the additional funding requested within their proposal. So this is based, the $90,000 is a straight calculation, 9% of the additional funds that the library board is providing to the project.
Thank you, John. Right, so as the cost of the build expands beyond the 3.4 million, the architect's fee increases 9% of whatever that additional cost is. Right. And that was known at the beginning when we signed on with them. But to be totally clear, I just want to make this clear to everyone who's going to speak in public comment and to anyone who's following this project. The town is not on the hook for any expense outside the budget of 3.4 million. Any additional costs will be paid for through library donations. The council is not approving an increase in this budget right now. That's not what we're doing. This is additional funds that will be, anything beyond 3.4 will be covered by library donations. So just want to make that clear.
And Council President, the total bond 5.8, it will not go over 5.8, correct?
Right.
What the voters approved twice. The
That's the
library,
bond.
for anything above that, the library through funding is on the hook, correct?
Correct.
Thank
The
you.
bond is the bond is the bond. It's 5.8.
That's
So
right.
any additional funding would either have some council, it would either be donations from the library, or a council would have to approve that intentionally,
Right.
which is
Right.
not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing tonight. Thank you.
Any questions from the council?
I do, yeah, Jesse. So, I did review the contract, and so it does, throughout the contract, it looks like a fee. So then when you look at Exhibit A and Article 4, it references it. So I don't understand. I'm just trying to, I'll just kind of tell you what I did see in the contract. So it does say fixed fee. And so there was a March 18th, there were clarifications by the architect, and it did say the only time that there would be a change in design would be for unforeseen existing conditions. And so it did say the only reason for increased design fees would be if the scope is changed and work beyond the original scope negotiation is added. Any additional fee due to addition of scope that may be requested will be negotiated with you appropriately. So then in the HBM proposal, it stated, should any funding be applied to this cost of the work, the fixed fee proposed would increase by that amount times 9%. And that I think was meant for additional scope. And I don't think, was there an architect, did they give us a request, or was there going to be a change in scope? Because I think the design is the design. It doesn't matter how much money we raise. If they're designing, it's going to be based on the design, unless something happens where they have additional square footage or a different building that they have to design. So I think it's spelled out in HBM's clarification. So I did review that. So I don't know if there's like a misunderstanding, but it shouldn't have to do with how much money that we're raising or how much money, the design is the design, unless that the scope has been changed. So I guess that's kind of my question, is whether the architecture firm submitted, I didn't see anything in the exhibit or anything in the supporting documentation for that. So I guess that's kind of my question is, both the RFP and the contract reference fixed rate. Everything says fixed rate. I guess, do we have an amendment from the architect that is ready to be executed? And I think it's, if we don't, I think it's premature at this point to really, approve $90,000 in architecture fees if they're not requesting it. I mean, we're not even that part of the scope, I don't think.
The contract.
Yeah. So.
Right. So I believe that we are actually. So the bond number was, remember, that's from a 2016 referendum. So that number, it's clearly too low in 2021. And so to design to that 3.4, I think it's clearly not enough money. And we'll bring Lori on to speak on this, because her and John are more versed on the details of how the contract was structured. But I think the idea is that it's clear that the project is going to cost $1 million more than what was specified in 2016.
Yeah, I understand that that's going to be more, but in the RFP it had defined buildings, so you knew the architect knew the square footage. The studies and assessment was done. There was a preliminary building program, and the architect did have specific information for the proposal. And again, I think the RFP had sufficient information that could be a fixed fee project. So it is fixed fee. I don't know, I just don't understand that part of it. And I know that just because we're raising more money or the scope of the project may cost more, why would the architect get more if the design's not different? I mean, that's not how it works.
Well, it's, if I can respond to that, it's the change in scope is the additional $1 million that's becoming available to use for construction or for the overall project. Their fixed fee is based on the remaining project scope of $3.4 million, of which 354,000 is their architect's fee. So they're designing, when we hired them to design a $3 million construction project. That's
No,
what they were.
it was based on the RFP, like what the design should be, not by funding. It's never like
based on
that.
the available budget as well. It's based on the available budget. They're hired to design to a budget. And when they're and now this amendment is to provide a change in scope of work to design to a different budget. And as Lori Kelly mentioned, that they've located or come up with ways to develop some additional space out of the existing.
Okay, so there is space. They're changing the scope
Yes,
of what.
there are some building modifications.
Okay, did they already submit that? And is that the request is for the $90,000? Is that what it is?
But like you said, the RFP was issued with okay, here's the building, here's the budget, here's the scope. This is we're working with, okay, we have an additional budget and they're going to incorporate that in there. We didn't obtain an additional design scope or what their scope was for this because the town didn't really come up with any money, as you mentioned earlier. This is
but the money, why does it matter if we have more money if they're designing in the same sense? The costs are going to go up. It's going to cost more money. That doesn't mean they make a percentage of the additional cost that it's going to cost for, the building materials or whatnot. That's not how it works. The RFP was a fixed fee.
A fixed fee for a fixed budget, and the budget's being increased by $1 million. So it's an industry standard to operate for a fixed fee of a total project cost.
No, it's one of them, but it's not. But this in the contract, it did say fixed fee, and if there was additional scope, then I could see that. But
yes, this is additional scope to find ways to spend an extra $1 million that the library budget is coming up with. That's what the change is. The town's not coming up with any of the money, and we didn't come up with the money. So essentially, the library board has expressed to the town that they have this money, and that's what this amendment was based on. So and again, the bond isn't changing. The 3.4 that's available that's coming out of the town's funds, but the board of trustees and their fundraising has come up with the additional $1 million, and that's the budget that they said that they want the building built to, and the architect's proposal is clearly indicates that any increase in the project scope and budget is as an associated 9% increase in their fee, or 9% of the additional budget.
is that what the architect did say, though? They did reach out, or is that something that we're just, did the architect reach out and say that they needed the extra $90,000, or is that something because we increased the
proposal?
What's that?
It's stated in their proposal.
No, it's not. To me, it's fixed fee. It's whatever, it's the building, and they're building it out, and they're designing it.
I apologize, I don't have the proposal in front of me, but I can get you the documentation and the page from the proposal where it clearly says.
I have it right here. It says, should additional funding be applied to the cost of the work, the fixed fee proposed would increase by that added amount. And it's 9%, but this is spelled out in the clarifications where it said it would not. It said on page, it doesn't, I think it's a misunderstanding. I think $90,000 is kind of premature to be giving the architect right now. I'd rather have it being spent on actual library brick and mortar and instead of architect fees. It says number 10 in here. It's very specifically stated. The most common circumstance of design overruns is unforeseen existing conditions. And it definitely states in here, the only reason for increased design fees would be if the scope is changed and work beyond the original scope negotiations added. And it doesn't say anything about more money. Like it says any additional fee due to the addition of scope that may be requested will be negotiated with you appropriately. That's why I'm asking, did they negotiate it with us? Because if they're not asking for it, why are we giving it?
Well, again, I'm not asking for it either. The library board has come up with the extra $1 million. That is the increase in scope. That's my understanding of this entire situation. The library, as Jesse indicated, the original budget projections are 5, 6, 7 years old now. Additional funds are necessary to increase the budget. We didn't have those funds available when the RFP was written for the architect. So it was written for what the funds were available, because the town can't contract without having the money in its hands.
Right.
So the library board has come up with the additional $1 million, which is the change.
All right, well, John should be able to pop back on once his signal clears up. We'll go to the public. So Eva, so when we approved the architect like months back, I did mention then that it was going to be an additional $90,000 in fees, because we knew then that there was going to be another $1 million added to the project. And I'm not in every meeting, with the architect, but it was clear from the town and from the architect months ago that there would be that additional fee. So I don't have the contract in front of me either, but it was something that we had discussed for a while, and there was kind of that mutual understanding from both sides. But again, I know you're reading it a different way than what we are. That was what I had read. So, you there, John? No, okay. Let's take some public comment. I know Lori's on as well. She could add to it. Dan, can we go to Lori first, and then we'll take the rest of the public comment?
Absolutely. Lori Kelly.
Hey, Lori.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not going to time you because I know we have some questions for you. So
Right.
we're bringing you on as a panelist.
Right. So as everyone has pointed out, and thank you, John, that was a good defense of the agenda item. We asked each firm to imagine that 3.4 was the amount, so we could compare apples to apples. Now, if you'll remember, HBM actually was the lowest bid, which we did not have to accept, and some bids were 500 some thousand. So we knew by their RFP that as we added more money to their design, we would also be charged more for that. Now, this is important to do this now because we need to put in an OLIS application. We need to hit all of our needs assessment criteria. And we also need to make applications to certain foundations that are generous to libraries. We can do none of that if we are designing to a building with 3.4 when we know it's going to cost more money. So what you're asking us to do, Eva, is to go through the whole design thing to the end of the November and then say, oh, by the way, we have more money. What can you do for us now? It is a very inefficient way to design a building. So yes, we have been forthright with all of the people who've been, all of the library architects, that this is not the 3.4 is not the only money we have, but we did not tell them 4.4 or 5 million or 4 million, because we did not know what was a reasonable amount that we would have in donations. Now with the Terry Murray Foundation, that grant money, we feel confident that we'll have $1 million by the end of the year. And this is their money to design for that. Now, when you talk about scope, there is actually an increase in scope because we're increasing the square footage in the building. So all of these things are as we go on. To handcuff us and not approve the architect's fee really dooms this entire project. And I know that that is not your intention. So, we need this approval now. And again, this is not $90,000 we're paying them today. This is added to their 354 and is billed over the life of their architectural contract. We've paid them, I believe, $47,000 so much so far for the, at the first part of the schematic design. So that's the explanation. I hope that answers your questions.
So the square footage did change. So there's another, is there an amendment by the architect? That was a question I'm asking, because to me, so the way I read the contract, so if it did change, then obviously that is a different scope of work in terms of the bigger building, more square footage.
Well, I think the clear thing is we asked everyone in the questions back and forth that it's designed to a certain budget. And now we're increasing the budget, and this RFP had 9% more, which I was told by all my construction guys who build libraries and schools, et cetera, that we could expect to pay between 8 and 12% for architectural fees. That's how they figure that part out. If it's a $7 million project, it's, between 8 and 12% on 7 million. If it's 10 million, the fee goes up, by the same scale. So this was not a surprise to us. They had 9% in their RFP, and that's what we went with. And again, they're still well under some of the people who bid on 3.4, and we're over 500,000 on design fees.
If I can respond to, initially, the intent was they were going to work to that 3.4 budget until, and it was going to kind of be bells and whistles at the end if we could postpone it down there. But as they were doing the initial design scoping and the building layouts, it became more and more clear that the changes that needed to be made really had to rely on that additional scope or the additional budget funds. And it wasn't going to be a case of, well, we can make this building that much better by the way the layout ended up being. So the architect agreed to continue working under its current budget, moving forward with the understanding that the town and the library board were going to be able to work out the additional funds.
But everybody knows the library, I support the library. I'm one of the close to 70% that did, but I also want to be very transparent to the 30% that opposed it. So that's just kind of my intent, just being fully transparent and getting the answers and making sure that it's all out there in the open. So again, that's the only reason I'm asking these questions. Thank you.
All right.
Also, I'm gonna say one more thing. Also, back when in 2016, 2018, the library had to kick in 1.2 million in the original estimate anyways, at some point. So this is all baked in the cake that was proposed for that first vote back in 2016. Thank you.
Baked in the cake.
All right, let's go to the public. We have a few hands up. Dan, who do we have first?
We have Stanley Wojciechowski.
Stanley, please state your full name and address and keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
And Wojciechowski, 1044 Boston Neck Road. I want to thank you very much. I think of 2x4s. They were $2.54. The last time I went there, they were $7.40. So prices went up almost 3 times. So I'm thinking that the cost of materials will probably be double what they were before. And I'm not so sure that the cost of materials are a reason that the architect should have to increase his cost. His cost should be based on, hey, I just found another 200 square feet over there, or what, and put in for a change order. So it seems like something went wrong here. Just because the cost of construction materials went it, that doesn't impact the building design. With the building design, that's what he should be worried about, not the cost of materials. And to tie in his salary, $90,000, due to the cost of materials is not appropriate. Therefore, you're right, we ought to know just how many extra square feet he has to deal with, and therefore the cost of the extra feet of design. It just seems so logical. I think we ought to wait till we see what is the cost of material issue versus the cost of his design hours, if you will. If he could produce something like, my design hours just went up 10%, therefore I need this 90,000. Design hours, not cost of building materials. That's what I see. I hope we would, we got to watch for these change orders. Change orders happen. All my life I dealt with change orders, and it's very difficult. Always very difficult on these change orders. And here we are starting right from day one. There's a change order, And it doesn't seem appropriate that it's based on material costs rather than design cost. Thank you.
Stanley, who do we have next, Dan?
Next, we have Catherine Siliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. This is why I like amount certain bids, but we don't have that $1 million, or I should say the library doesn't have that $1 million yet in hand. So I don't know how you can approve this $90,000 extra fee until they actually get that money in hand. And I know it's not going to be paid out immediately, but I just don't know about the procedure here of approving something based on you think you're going to get another $1 million, or maybe it's pledged, but it's not in their bank account yet. There's a lot of pledges out there, and Miss Kelly is always asking people to send their money in. So I think we have to look at how much money is actually in hand before we approve this. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Dan, who do we have next?
Next, we have Thomas Mann.
Thomas, please state your full name and address.
Thomas Mann, 65 Oak Hill Road. I would just like to point out that I think where everyone's have a little confused is that the scope of the architect's services are enumerated in the RFP and in their proposal. I think it was bullets A through L or something like that. They do state in their proposal that for additional scope work, I think that's additional work that was beyond the original program in the RFP. So unless you've changed the building program, I think, or had a discussion with the architect right now, I think this may be a moot point, because they further clarify in the March 18th what they meant by additional scope. They defined additional scope as additional services beyond the building program that was put in there. The overall project cost is not the architect's scope. The scope is actually outlined in their proposal and in the contract documents. The contract that you have actually states fixed fee. Exhibit A's fixed fee. There was no reference to that 9%. The only reference to the 9% is when the architect's scope changes. And the only way that that would change is if there's a change to the building program or additional scope outside of the box that was intended and described in the RFP documents. So what I would recommend is that perhaps you table this and just have a quick conversation with the architect to clarify, because I think that the language they use in their proposal conflicts with both their clarifications where they outline what would constitute a change in scope. It also conflicts with your contract, which is very specific that it's fixed fee.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Sorry about that. John, you're there, right? Okay.
Yep, I'm
Thank you,
still here.
Thomas. I don't know if I was muted when I spoke earlier. Okay, so this is not the town council voluntarily saying, let's give $90,000 to this architecture firm without speaking to them, correct? We've spoken to the firm. There's a understanding that they are due $90,000 as this project goes up by the additional $1 million. Is that correct? And we've had these discussions.
Yes, the architect's been on board with it the entire time, and they were aware that the additional funds were coming, and like I said, the original intention was to try and keep those things on the farther end to give the library board more time to establish the funds and secure those funds to have them in there. But the board is committed the $1 million, and that's where the additional funds is. The original project budget and scope is, we've got a box, and we've got a box that they're going to build with, and we've got $3 million to finish that box out and put a lot of nice things into it. So the ability to come up with the nice things and design things and do things differently is what their original budget is for. When the additional funds came in, it's like, oh, we can reconfigure the space, or we can have some modifications to the building, which were not included in the original scope to come up with the additional square footage and the various other items. So again, the town, the request here in the change order is for the town council to approve the change order to the architect so that they can complete the design. But the library the library board is coming up with all the additional funds, because the town can't go past the 3.4 and the bond at all. So if the design comes up, that's the library has to come up with the rest of the additional funds, or the OLS funds and all the other funding in the project go away. And the whole project will come, that'll be very detrimental to the entire project.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
It looks like there is one more hand up. Dan, who do we have left?
I believe it's Steve Ferrandy.
All right, Steve, please state your full name and address.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yep.
Okay, Steve Ferrandy, 44 Sylvan Road, Narragansett. Thank you, council members. I think from my perspective, when I look at it, I think what's happening is the confusion seems to be that originally it was a $3.4 million build out, and I get it. And maybe we didn't know exactly what the estimate for the donations would be. So the contracted for like a 3.4, but actually now it's going to be a 4.4. Wouldn't it have been easier if you could have put some sort of an estimate of a potential fundraising or something to say, okay, we'll build it out for a 4.4, and his $90,000 would have been already in that fee. And I think that's what's creating confusion. It looks like it's an add-on, and we haven't really seen any of the projections of what type of an add-on it's going to be. Now we're saying, okay, started out with 3.4. He's only really had the project for 2 or 3 months now. And now you want to add in, okay, we have $1 million, so now you have to build for another $1 million. So it would have been a little easier and to understand the extra fee if we would have known some sort of an estimate what the fundraising would be. And maybe you could have done a tiered thing, you know what I mean? Hey, if I have another $1 million, and okay, it's going to be this fee. It wouldn't look like it's so much that they're adding on. Technically, if you add that amount, he's building for 4.4 million instead of 3.4. And then the fee is, how much more should the town be paying other than some of the fundraising? Can they use will they be able to split it with the town and use some of the extra on the fundraising to help help the town out with the extra fees on the engineering? Just a thought. And I think that's where some of the confusion might be on my end anyhow. I don't know how everybody else thinks, but we knew we were going to build it out for more than 3.4 anyway, right? You knew that, thank God there was fundraising coming in, and maybe it's going to be more than that. And then what's the extras are going to be? Is it going to be other potential space in the library that's going to be for the future or anything like that? Or is it just for the box? You want a more expensive box? I think, things like that might help in the confusion of it. And I mean, it's great that you're getting the fundraising and all, but I think some of the confusion is where we just people don't understand the contracting and all. And I understand that. So that's my comments. Thank you, council.
Thanks, Steve. All right. I know we had a little bit of debate here, so I just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to speak. Are there any last comments before we take the vote?
Yeah, so I actually would like to make a motion to table this for just to continue it in 2 weeks. I mean, I think there's a lot of, I would like to see supporting documentation and some of the questions answered. I think I always ask for 2 weeks. It's not a lot to ask, especially when this is a big item. And like I said, I do support the library and I always have. But I would just like some of those questions answered, and I'd like to see some clarification on that. And so that's just my ask, is that we continue this in 2 weeks.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, no second. I can't, Patrick, you're kind of moving your lips there behind the mute, but you're good.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, this is, back when the total cost was right around 7 anyway. So it was a given that the library had to cough up 1.2 at some point. So we're at that point. That means we're making progress. The high cost of materials was the 2.5 year, 3 year delay. So, but we did get a good bond rating. I'm good with this. I want to see this thing move forward. I don't want any delays. I think we're getting some momentum. I think we should keep going. I mean, this isn't on the town taxpayer. This is something to the library, friends of the library. It's on them. So I have no problem with it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Patrick. I just want to make sure that we're, the library, I'm looking out for the library. I'm looking out for the funding.
Right.
Because I would like to see that 90,000 be able to spend on the library, not on architect fees. So I'm not here to, just put a block on this. I just
Right.
really want to make sure that we have our the questions answered. And the only question I'm asking is, like, to me, it's fixed fee. And if there's no architect that textual amendment from or request from the architect or something in writing, like a change, then that's the only thing I'm asking. I'm just asking. I don't want to see that I don't want to see $90,000 spent on architect fees when we could be spending it on the library. That's my only concern. And that's the only reason I was asking to continue it. So, I mean, obviously I'm just 1 of 5. So, again, that was just my motion because I just thought it would be, doing our due diligence. And so that's all I have. Thank you.
Right.
So before you call the vote, Jesse, I want to thank John because I think John and Lori really articulated quite well about the project and what's been going on, and there's been transparency. So I fully support it tonight.
Okay, so thank you. We don't have a second on the motion. So we'll go back to the original motion. So is there so all in favor to approve the 90,000, starting with Susan?
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Josephine, nay.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. Next we have number 19 for the town manager is a motion to approve the hiring of 2 replacement firefighters within the fire department. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the motion, Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, any discussion?
Yeah, maybe,
You want a summary?
yeah.
Jim, can you give us a quick summary?
Yes, hello again, everyone. We have one firefighter who's announced his retirement to the chief toward the end of August, and that is the period when the academy is beginning. If that retirement takes place on that exact schedule, we will have to backfill that position on overtime until the candidates graduate the academy, which would be in November of 2021, if we couldn't get them into the academy by the end of August. The second vacancy is that administrative senior captain's position that starts in around March of next year. So they wouldn't be graduating the academy until later this year, and then they do training. So those 2 positions, if we don't plan ahead of time to fill them, we did this last time too, where they kind of overlapped when people retired. We had people in the seat in the academy, so the overtime was reduced, and they were street ready much sooner.
All right, thanks, Jim. Patrick, any other questions? Okay. Okay, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 20 from the town clerk is a motion to appoint/confirm 1 municipal employee union representative, Council 94 Local 1179, to the pension board. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion, Susan Cicilline Bonanno.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right. So this would be a replacement for the vacant seat that was actually Janet Taro's seat. She's no longer with Council 94. And the
So it's
replacement,
Stacy Gorham?
Stacy
Okay.
Gorman, that's right, would be the
Sorry.
replacement. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
Sorry,
Okay.
Janet. Sorry, Janet.
Poor Janet, yes.
Yeah, she looks disappointed.
All in favor? Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 21 from the town council is a motion to change the name from South County Senior Advisory to Narragansett South Kingstown Senior Advisory, and it will match South Kingstown Committee's name. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. I'll move the motion.
Is there a
Second.
second? All right, second by Eva. This comes from Councilor Cicilline Bonanno. Susan, if you want to speak on this. You're muted right now.
So it's just to mirror the same language and the same name as South Kingston because we are both sharing. It's a dual committee. We have South Kingston and Narragansett on it. So we want the names to be the same. So it's the same committee. So it's just a name change. And I don't even know how it got its original name, but it should match South Kingston. So I just wanted to clean it up.
Yep. All right. Any questions from the council? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopek, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Number 22 is a motion to direct the town manager to write a letter to Rhode Island DEM requesting the unauthorized dirt parking area on Ocean Road be converted into a small formal parking lot per the recommendation from the Narragansett Coastal Access Improvement Committee. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion, Susan.
Second.
Bonanno.
Second.
All right, made by Susan, seconded by Patrick. So I put this on the agenda. This was the first recommendation from the new Coastal Access Improvement Committee. I think everyone is probably aware of that dirt area on Ocean Road. That's kind of across from Clark Road. It's kind of was an informal supplemental parking area for Black Point. It was nice because it had easier access to the ruins over there. It also was nice for when the regular lot got full, there was some extra parking there. It's been that way for like 100 years, literally. You'll see in this proposal that there's overhead satellite, or not satellite, it must be like a blimp or something from 1920, a photo showing that dirt area then. And it has been, used throughout the years for locals in the off season, all sorts of people in the summertime, but it's been used for a long time. And only during COVID did it get blocked off by the boulders. Right. So it's one of those things that we see with coastal access where you lose some access during emergencies, and there's a tendency for that to never come back unless you intentionally make sure that it does come back. We don't control that. It's DEM, it's state property, but we can do what we can do, which is to send a recommendation and hopefully let that department consider our proposal and our argument and see why it makes sense for the town. So that is kind of a recap. I do have the proposal available as well, and I wanted to let the Coastal Access Committee member who put that together just speak on that briefly so you guys can understand exactly what the recommendation is. So Dan, if you could pull that PDF up, it shouldn't take too long. And then if you could move over Rachel, it looks like her hand is up.
Where she went, I saw her earlier. There we go.
Thanks, Dan.
I'm not sure if I'm here. Am I here?
You're there. Yeah, we can hear you. I don't see you on camera, but that's fine. However you want to do it.
Let's see. I'm not sure how to actually even put myself on a camera.
In the corner there, if there's like a little video icon, you can try that if it's available.
Show active speaker. Rachel, I'm going to bring you as a panelist. It'll just take about 10 seconds. Okay. Am I there?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think he's just moving you over right now, so we can see you too. Here you are.
Yeah. Okay, are you ready?
Ready? Yep.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of go through this. It'll just take a few minutes. I just don't want to leave anything out because I feel like there's a lot of important points here. Jesse just sort of gave an overview of this spot. It's about a 1.5 mile coastal trail with an oceanfront urban decay spot that we call windswept or the stone ruins. It's full of popular fishing spots, great place to walk dogs, very family friendly hike, scenic views, rocky coastline, all the things we love. In 1989, after a long battle, the state purchased Black Point for use as a state park as, quote, a symbol for the fight to ensure coastline access. It was a hard-won victory, and at the time was considered one of the greatest public access battles of all time. You can see a little clip right there. When it was funded by a Rhode Island Division of Transportation grant, it was hailed as being beneficial to the elderly population. And the 1,430-foot loop trail is the result of a partnership between RIDEM and De La Salle Christian Brothers. Quote, our focus is on the elderly, and this trail is a perfect opportunity for them to come and walk, get exercise, and see the beauty around them. It is much safer here than on Ocean Road for the aging population, which I think is important, end quote, by Brother Edmund Precourt of De La Salle Christian Brothers from a 2012 article. The same safety reasoning can be applied to families with small children, as well as to the handicapped population. There is a fairly small dirt lot at the main access point, which typically on any given summer day is full quickly and remains full all day until dark. Ultimately, this limits access to those who get there early or get lucky to arrive as someone is pulling out. There is another smaller dirt lot, roughly a quarter of a mile down the road, that contains another access point to the trail, which provides considerably closer access to the stone ruins. Parking there brings families with small children and elderly people within easier walking distance to this area of the trail, as well as provides for a little bit of overflow parking to the trail itself. When the pandemic began in 2020 and Rhode Island went under quarantine, large boulders were dropped at the entrance of this smaller lot, blocking vehicular access. It was around the same time that sawhorses were put in the entrance of neighboring Scarborough Beach, presumably to keep visitors at a minimum. They were dropped in the fall of 2020, following a COVID summer where it had been hard to keep the beaches and other coastal spots from overcrowding. However, we now find ourselves over a year later, no longer under quarantine, much of the population vaccinated, and COVID very much under control. The boulders still remain in place. When I reached out to the DEM, who is in charge of that area, requesting information on why the boulders still remain in place, I was given the following reasoning in an email on May 10th, 2021 from Francis P. Floor, Administrator, Bureau of Natural Resources and Parks. Quote, for your information, this area was never designated nor intended to be a parking area to access the shoreline. The vehicle operators began pulling off to the side of the road in that area, and it quickly expanded to off-road parking. Over time, people pushed further and further into the brush, and the area became an unofficial parking spot, end quote. The following aerial photographs, and I cite my source, demonstrate that contrary to this information provided by Mr. Floor, the area in question has actually been a dirt lot with vehicular access to the trailhead since 1939. And there you can see the top picture is 1939. The one below it is 1972. It just sort of demonstrates that the lot really didn't change. It's been a lot throughout time. And then the next picture is 2020, the fall of 2020, and suddenly there's boulders there. Same lot, same size lot, hasn't changed, boulders blocking it off. It is clear that the lot has been used for vehicular access to the trail since at least 1939. If it has never been official, it only makes sense at this point to make it official. Additionally, and I added this just this week, I run by this spot every day, and I stopped on my run last week to look a little closer. I really feel like the second site inspection is really important because I wasn't looking for the most obvious thing, which are the boulders. I noticed that if you go to the next page, you'll see that the guardrail has been cut on both sides of the lot and bent in, assumably by the Department of Transportation. No person can go in there and just cut the guardrail like that. And that just demonstrates that it was actually intended to be a lot for vehicles because the guardrail was cut to allow vehicles to park there. So he also told me in that May 10th email, quote, as the area expanded, we noticed more and more people parking in that area in an attempt to evade the parking fee to access the beachfront. DEM works hard to provide coastal access, and we believe with over 2,700 available parking spots in the Black Point area, we achieved this goal. Again, contrary to his statement, the goal of these coastal access points is actually to provide free access to the coast. Mr. Floor's reasoning is inconsistent with that goal, as most of those 2,700 spots are in the Scarborough Beach parking lot, where there is a fee to park, or you need a state beach parking pass, which must be purchased. Furthermore, when Tony Colombo, another member of the Coastal Access Improvement Committee that I'm representing with this proposal, reached out via telephone to the DEM regarding the boulders in this lot, he was told that they put them there because they had trouble with litter and fires around that area. This demonstrates another inconsistency with the reasoning given by the DEM for the boulders. So to recap, the boulders were dropped initially during quarantine, yet the DEM is telling me they are there because it was never an official parking spot. Tony was told that they're there because of fires and litter. The DEM has indicated to both Tony and myself that they have no plans to remove the boulders, and they did not reply to my further correspondence. I also reached out to Dean Hoxie at the DEM to inquire about the boulders, and in a May 12th, 2021 reply email, he stated they have indicated they have no plans to remove the boulders. This leaves the issue of the boulders open-ended and seemingly arbitrary, which is unacceptable and confusing. The blockage of that small lot led to cars parking on Ocean Road last summer to access the trail, clogging up the road, as well as requiring the Narragansett police or environmental police to spend time on an almost daily basis ticketing the cars. And I witnessed this every day last summer. I live in this area. In the busy summer season, they certainly have more pressing issues to deal with. There are no parking signs at the lot as well on Ocean Road, both sides in the area around the lot. This leaves us with an access point that is inaccessible to anyone who does not walk quite a distance on foot to arrive there. Families with small children, the elderly, who the trail was initially created in part for, and handicapped people cannot access that area of the stone ruins. The goal of the committee I am submitting this proposal on behalf of is working to provide free access to all to the coast via these access points. This smaller lot is an access point. The boulders are also an unfriendly eyesore, but more importantly, in conjunction with the no parking signs, they clearly give the misleading message that there's no legal access at that spot, while there is indeed access to the trail, including a trailhead. And when I inspected the site again last week, I noticed there are two other little trails coming off of that lot. They've just been overgrown a bit, I assume, because the lot's been blocked off for a year now. So it's confusing and contradictory. So the goals, a motion for the Coastal Access Improvements Committee. Well, we did this already. We approved this and send it to you, hoping that you will approve it, and the town manager can then bring the proposal to the DEM himself. And to outline.
Rachel,
Yes.
sorry. Are there any other photos in this?
There are photos at the end.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we kind of stay on time here.
Sure. Do you want me to go over what I'm proposing the goal is, or
why don't you just talk about the specifics?
Okay.
So
we want to remove all no parking signage from that small lot. We want to remove all the boulders that are blocking the access, remove them all from the entrance, and move some to the back and the side perimeters of the lot to prevent further erosion of the soils and underbrush, and consider leaving a few boulders in the center by the road to encourage an entrance and an exit on either side of the boulders. We want to legitimize the area as a parking lot for Black Point to allow marked parking for 6 vehicles, to provide particularly for small children, the elderly and handicapped. Maybe designate one of them as a handicapped spot, one of them maybe like parking for small children. I'm not sure how far we want to go with that, but there is room for 6 cars there at least. And post a no littering signage at the entrance of the trail with fees enforced. Orca has agreed to regular cleanups of that area from the trailhead at the small lot to the stone ruins to include the ruins. And they're simply requesting official permission to do the cleanups, as well as for the DEM to remove the garbage bags once the cleanups are through. And this works towards resolving the litter issue. And add a pack your trash sign, or perhaps add that to the no littering sign, as well as a no fire signage at the entrance, as well as at the stone ruins. And post a clear sign at the trailhead that indicates public coastal access. And we're hoping that this can be done in a timely manner with a clear and specific timeline outlined so that it doesn't leave it open-ended any longer. You can go ahead and move to the pictures now. These are recent pictures within the last month. That is the lot from one view. You can see clearly there are boulders blocking all access for vehicles. That's just from further down the road. It shows the no parking sign at the beginning and as well as the end of that lot. That's from across the street, just another view of the boulders. That is the larger lot. That's a little bit up the road, and this was just taken a few days ago. You can see the cars are starting to park on the road, and yesterday and the day before I actually saw the environmental police ticketing cars along that road as well. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel, for going over that. Do any council members have any questions for Rachel while she's on, or any general thoughts?
No, nice presentation, but I have a couple of things on the coastal access over on Clark and Ocean.
Okay.
Susan.
So thank you, Rachel. So, my parents rented at the end of Clark Road for many years, and before COVID, I saw that spot at Clark Road and Ocean Road expand, cars and cars and cars. And I was so thrilled when they built a park and ride near Christian Brothers, because I thought, great, that's a really neat, safe place to people to access the water and do that walk. And so I actually tried to reach out to find out too why it was closed, why the boulders were there. I had to do an APRA request today to find out, because I talked to somebody at DOT and they told me, because I wanted to know, did they close it off because it wasn't safe? Did they close it off because they haven't cleared the paths in a number of years? And so I actually prefer the parking lot where people are safely pulling into, instead of right on Ocean Road where you're coming out of Clark Road and there's 10, 12 cars. And I have seen it over the last 7 or 8 years expand to a small parking lot in the middle of the road. And so while I supported the access for the Coastal Access Committee, I commend them on their projects. I think we have to find out, the rationale of why the boulders are there, because in the north end, when Jim Manny was the town manager, we closed off near the river and made it safe. It was for safety reasons. We limited the spots because it was getting unsafe. We put the signs up because it was unsafe. So although I want to support coastal access, I want to make sure it's safe and done right. And I'm not sure why the road was closed off, and I would need more information to be able to support this, because I just wonder, they made that nice parking lot down the street, 60, 70 yards down the street where people can go. And it's a lot safer than being in the middle of the road. Clark Road is narrow. You have Ocean Road. You put 9, 10, 11 trucks there to go fishing. It becomes unsafe as you're riding on that road. So I appreciate all the hard work. And I really have trouble with it because I grew up over there, and I know the unsafe conditions with those cars on the road. So that's all I've got for that. But thank you, Rachel. Well done.
Thanks, Susan.
All right. I do want to clarify just that. So this proposal would be for 5 to 6 spots, formalized and lined. So you wouldn't have like 11 or 12 cars, because it wouldn't be a free for all. It would actually alleviate that older problem by making it formalized, and also making an in and an out entrance, as opposed to cars driving out through the center of that lot. You have an in and an out, which would be a safety thing. So one of the things that we went over in that coastal access meeting was we kind of did a lot of vetting on this and brought up maybe some potential issues, which was the litter, safety, that sort of thing, and tried to come up with solutions for all of those different possible issues. And those are in the proposal. So I'm not saying that you have to vote for it. I just want to address, there wouldn't be 11 or 12 cars because those would be parked illegally. I guess there could be, but they'd get.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what the number of safety is. I mean, I just struggle with right on Ocean Road to have a parking lot right on that road. It's so narrow.
There's already a parking lot on that road. And I would have to say one of the more important points that Rachel made, and it was a really great presentation, Rachel. And as someone who has walked and ridden my bike, down that road, having cars parked parallel on that street when the DEM parking lot is full is really dangerous for a lot of different people. And so I think having some overflow parking would be a good idea, but I also think that the Black Point Trail is sort of a victim of its own success. It's a fantastic trail, and I don't think anybody ever expected it to get the kind of use it got. I mean, the original parking lot is there for fishermen. That was the point of it. So, but I also completely agree that for people to have to walk all the way from, first of all, pay for Scarborough Beach, but then walk all the way from even the most northern part of that parking lot, it's a pretty long walk for people who are disabled or elderly or have very small children. And I've walked that too, so I know of what I speak. So I think it's not a terrible idea. I think it's a good idea, and I think that, but I'm fearful that what it will do is attract even more cars, and I'm not sure what we do when that happens. But I'm in favor of it.
Thanks, Deb. And again, we're voting to send a letter.
Yeah,
So
right.
We're not able to approve it.
Right.
Patrick, any thoughts?
Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Let's just take a vote.
All right,
Sounds like
Eva.
a good idea.
Up and down vote.
All right.
Any comments, but thank you, Rachel, for doing that.
Thank you. Very nice.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and take the vote? All in favor, starting with Susan.
Sorry, you guys, love the work, but Susan Cicilline Bonanno, nay.
Eva.
Eva Zizinski, aye.
Deb.
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick.
Patrick Murray, aye. Park and be damned.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 4-1. All right. Rachel, thank you again.
Thank you,
Thanks
Rachel.
for staying up.
Very nice.
Very much.
All right. So we have number 23, a motion to direct the town manager and the town
Turn that
engineer
off.
to implement a sewer reclamation amnesty program for all property owners who knowingly or unknowingly discharge stormwater into the town's sewer system. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Eva. This comes from Councilor Murray and Councilor Drzezinski.
Okay, this is the problem is what we have is in our sewer system, many households and property owners, they have their rainwater go into the sewer system. This lowers our capacity up to maybe as high as 20%. I didn't get a chance to talk with John on this. We discussed it before some time ago. But, I mean, when somebody buys a house, they may not know that their sump pump is connected to the sewer, which is technically against the town ordinances. So, and what we're doing is we're treating stormwater as sewage when we should be just treating sewage. So we're wasting, if we got rid of that situation, we'd have more capacity for our needs. And because of the rain we have, we keep losing capacity. So the town sewer plants are designed to treat raw sewage for proper disposal. Lost sewer capacity through the influx of stormwater and leaking sewer lines throughout the town is an issue that needs to be addressed. This is an attempt to reclaim wasted sewer capacity that may be up to 20% of the town's total sewer capacity. These ordinances were written many years ago, and there's something that is not included in the current ordinances is town access. The town doesn't have a right to go in and bang on the door. Hey, can we look at your sewer? See if you're connected right. This revised ordinance would give the town permission, at an appointment basis. Can we check out your basement, check out your sewer connection to make sure it's in line with the town ordinance? Because, more and more, we keep expanding or adding homes or what have you. And we have some sewer capacity, but we're just not using it properly. So I'd like to talk with John. I hope he'd pipe in. I'm certainly if ever had anything to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely like to hear from John since he's the engineer, what he thinks about the ordinance and, how he feels about it. So.
Before we go to John, Eva, did you have anything to add since you're a sponsor?
No, I just think it's important to meet and maintain the sewer capacity. So I think this will just help it. So that's why I support it.
Okay, thank you. All right, John, thanks again. Very popular this evening.
Provided the internet connection holds up. Yeah, I concur with both the council members that the rainwater brought into the sewer system, when extraneous flows from that avenue would be a good thing to reduce. And we do have some areas of town that could be worse than others. The ordinance right now does allow for us to access commercial and industrial properties, but not residential properties. There would need to be some investigations as to, other municipalities or other towns and ordinances where they do have those rights, that have to be crafted with respect for the residents and the occupants of those dwellings. We've done some studies in the past. I think the most recent was done in the Congdon Pump Station Pier area about 6-7 years ago. I think 2015 was the report. And I think they were able to get into maybe about 3/4 of the houses that they had requested access to and to do the inspections. But I haven't looked at that report or seen that in any great detail. But it's a good idea to try and reduce the infiltration inflow. In particular, the regional plant is where we have the most pressing need for that. So, I would support this investigation into a proposed ordinance change.
John, we have like emergency access capabilities when it comes to town water, correct?
I'd have to review the ordinance. I think that I don't know that we would necessarily have emergency access into people's dwellings, but we have the ability to shut them off the curb stop,
right,
to prevent the
right,
any kind of emergency or quell an emergent situation.
I mean, for me, this is a little totalitarian, but this is an important situation that, we need to get a handle on our sewers. We just can't let people pump rainwater in the sewers because it is restricting other people's proper access. So, I would treat it like a building violation where you get a letter and it's $500 a day till you correct it. Something like that. It's pretty much standard in the building inspector's office that if there's a major violation, you get a letter and it's a cease and desist, basically. So if suspected. So,
Can I ask a
ahead,
question? I'm just a little confused about how this works. So Patrick, one of the things you said was that people have sump pumps that are, and I assume they're pumping rainwater. That's the whole idea, is that their basements get flooded, right? That's what you're saying.
correct.
And then you pump the water is then pumped into our sewage system. So I guess my question would be, if it's not going there, where is it going? And does that have another added problem in terms of, say, water ending up in the, in our, along the coast or someplace where it shouldn't be either?
That's the homeowner's issue. They need, technically, they're not supposed to be pumping water into another person's yard. So whether they do and do a dry well or something like that, like basically you take that.
So that's
sump
what you
pump.
think that's what they would have to do, and I assume that's what we end up with the next motion for, right? So
No, I mean, that's what they would have. Hey, they can put the pump it anywhere they want, but they just can't pump it into the sewers.
Deb, sometimes it's just it's rerouted to a different area of a yard. Basically.
No, I understand that that's a possibility, but I mean, another option, which I think would be no more, would not be any, it would be as damaging as what we're talking about, is if they just, we sometimes see people, with a hose going down their driveway out to the street, and they're pumping water out to the street, which could have the same sort of deleterious effect on, maybe not on the sewer system, depending on where it was, but certainly on the environment. So I just want to make sure we're not creating another problem by solving a problem. And I'm not saying we are, I just don't know. I'm not knowledgeable about this stuff.
It's rainwater or sump pump water from a basement. It's,
God only
it's
knows what's
something
in that,
that's,
right?
it's something that may be hydrostatic or maybe from direct rainwater. I mean, it's a natural order of things. I mean, most people just pump it out in the yard. I mean, that's what I do. And,
See, if you didn't have a basement.
A
I
few,
don't.
it's a problem. I mean, if we have 9,000 homes. And,
Right.
And,
I get it.
We're
I
losing
get it.
20% of our capacity. That's a lot of homes that
No,
could
I
have
understand.
access.
I understand. I just needed to
I mean,
understand.
all the Bonnet Shores is shut down right
Right.
now because we have no access.
couple questions. Deb, are you good for now?
Sure.
All right, sorry. We'll do another round if you need.
No, I don't need it.
I think the intention is definitely good on the motion. Good intention. I'm not saying I'm against it. I have some questions as well. My first question is, where's that 20% number coming from?
Yeah, that's a good question too.
That we're adding 20, that somehow 20% is getting added to the capacity.
Up to 20%.
But where does this number coming from?
Well, it's flood. It's either coming from a sump pump or rainwater. When we have a lot of rain and we have leaky sewer lines, there's infiltration there.
But
We have people pumping.
How do you know it's not 2%? Like, how do you know how many people are doing this? How much is getting added?
You don't. That's right. We don't know. John, would you say it could be up to 20% of our sewer capacity could be from infiltration from rainwater, whether it's be leaky sewer lines or gutters hooked up to the sewer or sump pumps hooked up to the sewer?
Well, you have to do the engineering investigations to determine how much it is, but
Right.
it's basically a comparison of wet weather to dry weather flows. And it can be excessive. 20% maybe a lot. The formulas I don't recall off the top of my head how they determine excessive, sometimes excessive infiltration or extraneous flows is calculated based on whether it's more cost effective to remove it from the system or to let it go down the pipe and treat it. So, but generally, the idea would be to get as much rainwater out of the sanitary sewer system by taking downspouts and gutters and just letting them go onto people's properties and discharge that way, and eventually to the stormwater systems. And the same with the groundwater being pumped out of sump pumps to either people contain that on their property or those get that to the storm drain sewer system as well. But exact figures.
I'm basically trying to ascertain how large of a problem this is. I
Yeah.
think it's a problem, but we need to understand it a little bit better as well.
Right.
So like that, you said there was a initiative taken like 7 years ago where the town was able to get into 75% of the houses they were looking to get into voluntarily. And do you know how many of those houses were actually violating the policy of doing this?
Let's see. I did take a look at that report. report this morning quickly. I think there may have been 6 confirmed sump pumps that were connected, but part of the challenges you have with that is when you have that was the project was a sanitary sewer evaluation study where they're looking for the problems. They'll do smoke and dye testing to try and see whether illegal connections are there or not. But when people grant access to their homes, you gave them the notification, you requested access, you made an appointment, and then you went in there after they had disconnected their sump pump and it was pumping someplace else or just removed from the system. And then when they go back in, they just pump it back into their put it back into their sewer, their building drain before it goes out to the sewer. It's just, over time, it's just easier and more convenient to do that. Again, I know the pier area is one of the more difficult areas, and I think we have some, because it's older and it was just set up that way originally, and then, we also have challenges down in Galilee, Scarborough, that area, because there's a lot of high groundwater, and that presents challenges for the property owners, especially with basements. And generally, our ordinances in terms of stormwater is you're not allowed to discharge any additional stormwater onto your neighbor's property than was present prior to whatever development you're doing now. Now, that may not account for existing homes and things like that, or versus a vacant lot, but people are really required to contain their flow within their property limits. So
Yep. Okay, got it. So I guess one of my concerns is the wording of the motion. So to direct the town manager and town engineer to implement this program, but it seems like it's skipping some steps. I'm not exactly even sure what we'd be approving. If we approve this, we're pretty much saying you two do whatever you need to do to implement this, because we're just approving implementation of it. But I would like to know what the ordinance is that we're implementing, the wording of it, or that we're approving. Are we just saying we are approving the ability for the town to do random inspections of people's basements and garages? Is that the actual motion? I just need like a more clear.
We need to beef up the current ordinance to where we can have access and straighten these situations out, because we got old sewer lines, again, infiltration there. We have people who are hooked up into the line through their gutters or what have you, and this is something that needs to be addressed. So
Patrick, could you draft the ordinance or?
that's up to the town manager and the town engineer. I'm not an engineer. They have current laws on the books. They just need to punch them up and update them to where we can have more access and some type of fine.
Well, if that's the case, then what we need to see is what that is. So maybe instead of using the term implement, we have them examine, the situation, have the town manager and.
As long as we're moving forward with this, I'm fine with it.
Okay, but I think we do
anything you want.
Well, I mean, it's not anything I want. It's anything that, that makes it possible.
Anything anybody wants. This is an issue. Well, we have lost sewer capacity. It's a big unknown, and nobody brings this up. Nobody talks about it, and it's costing the town a lot of money.
I don't think anybody disputes that. I think, but words matter, and we have to make sure that what we're asking for is what makes a great deal of sense. And we can't
I made it generic as far as I can see. I made it as generic as possible between the town manager and the town engineer. They can come up with punching up a new type of ordinance that is in line with fines and or access. So then
maybe we could change the language from implement to drafting a new ordinance.
That's
for town council approval.
Second.
Jesse, does that work for you, Jesse? Because the other question that I would have is, what Jesse said before about the 20%. I don't think John could answer that question. Right? You don't know what the number is.
Up to
is fine, but up to 20% could be 2%.
Well, I would, if I was going to amend this, or if it was my motion, I would ask to direct the town manager and town engineer to prepare a report on redirection of groundwater in residential properties, and to work on a proposed ordinance to resolve the issue. Something like that. I would like to see
Right.
some data and an ordinance that could handle it. That's what I would like. But, you know,
Well, then,
Well,
What do
the
you guys
problem is, I think the problem is that you can't create a report if you don't have access. You can't, you know, the only way they do it, John, explain it to them. The only way they do it now is you pump smoke into the sewer system, and there's smoke coming out of somebody's basement, or smoke coming out of a chimney, or smoke coming out of their gutters, then you know they're hooked into the sewer. All right, I would like to see the town have access to, yeah, listen, we're doing a sewer inspection, can we come in and inspect your sewers? And
Can
have
we
an
see what other-
amnesty program, we're not gonna fine you, we're
Why
not gonna
don't-
do it.
can't we see what other towns have done? So I'm sure this has happened in other towns, and when they've gone ahead and done these inspections.
Wait a minute, I don't like it, but this is something that needs to be addressed.
I agree.
no one disputes that. But I think there's a way you have to go about doing it.
Sure.
And I think the people who know how to do that would be John and Jim. And so we need to rely on them to find us the information and get us the language and go forward from there.
Perfect, I love it.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
I think that the bottom of the blue sheet, with the need access ordinance, I think that's the gist of what you're looking to get done here. So, you know, if to have us, you know, investigate that aspect of it, and because I was not clear on what the amnesty portion of it was until you know, Patrick, you just
Still not.
mentioned it. Well, we're not gonna crack down on you about this. We just need to get it
Yeah,
fixed.
that's right, we need to correct it.
The one thing I do want to mention here, though, is, you know, to have the ability to go inside, the wastewater department really isn't, you know, geared up to go and do these studies and investigations. You know, they're generally done on a wide scale basis where you do have a consultant involved, and then you have a broad-based program to try and go in and review it. Again, I know we had a study that was done in 2015, and there were some prior studies in other areas of town. Some of the recommendations were implemented, and others may not have been. So I'm trying to work with the wastewater department to try and go through those documents again as well, to establish where we're at and what else could be done, and what the next steps would be. Because ultimately, you know, any of the problems, you know, disconnecting sump pumps, or people that have their gutters tie into their building lateral, you know, that takes money to repair, or if it's just leaky building laterals or anything like that. So those are the issues that have to get looked at as well. But that's above and beyond this ordinance change that you're looking at.
Patrick, oh.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking, but I think you were muting on purpose. Why don't we go to the public? I see a hand up, and then we'll come back. Dan, who do we have?
Yeah, Catherine Celeberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celeberto, 48 Earls Court. I've received a number of letters, so have people on my street and other people. Can we come in and inspect, you know, your cellar to make sure you're not hooked into your sewer pipe? And again, this is people just unhook their pump from the sewer back out into their yard. And I don't know how you could possibly get into people's houses without some kind of notification. You can't just be ringing doorbells and say, can I come in and check to see if you've, you know, hooked up your sump pump to the sewer line? I think, I don't know about the smoke thing, and first time I've heard about it, but I think you can compare sewer usage from house to house. If after a big rainy season, 48 is using, I don't know, so many, or using so much water, and I didn't use that kind of water before the rainy season, or I'm using a lot more than my neighbor, I think you can do some kind of a comparison like that. But I just don't know how this is going to work. I just, it doesn't even make any kind of sense that there's a way to make it work, unless you can do something from the exterior, you know, pump the smoke, whatever it is, into the line, or just compare bills or usage or whatever. Anything that's going to require going into a person's house, I just don't think it's going to work. Thank you.
John, tell them about the smart manhole covers.
Well, that's just another component that we're looking at with wastewater, but that's to try and track the information down. That's the issue, is to try and catch it and identify where the flows are coming from. And we're looking into getting some equipment that can be mounted to the manhole cover, or it's a a special cover itself that it can track the flow and can see the flow when it increases, and be able to try and track down where the additional flow comes from in the wet weather.
Interesting. So I do think the civil liberties aspect of this shouldn't be overlooked. So like kind of flippantly, if we were talking about if we were talking about the 3 or 4 student ordinance, and I said we're going to do random inspections to see how many people are living there, I don't know that would fly, across this council so easily. So anytime you have the government going into someone's house without permission, you can't do it when someone's assessing your house. If someone knocks on my door and says they're assessing, I don't have to let them in. So why should I have to let them in to check this in the basement? I don't know. But again, these are questions that I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent is good on this motion. I do think it needs to be investigated. It needs to come back in the form of an ordinance, because there are a lot of questions. I think the intent for Eva and Patrick is a good one, but it's really vague, and how it's going to happen, how it's going to be implemented, how we're going to monitor it. So I would ask if we could have them, defer with John and James.
That's what this is about. Have the town manager and the town engineer come up with a plan, because it needs to be addressed. So that's it. Simple as that. And you guys can word it any way you want, as long as we're moving in the right direction.
Well, maybe we should delay this and, rewrite it for 2 weeks. I mean, this is a good opportunity to do something good, but we have to know what it is or how we can say this in such a way that it makes sense and can be done. So maybe we just need to rework the language a little bit and then come back with something that says what it is. I think it's what you meant, actually, Patrick, but I think we need to say it that way.
Okay, that's fine. Let's table it. Let's table the damn thing and move on to the next one. Next.
He has a motion. Is that a motion, Patrick, to table?
Yes, let's table.
And I'll second it.
All right.
All right. We have a hand up. Dan, who do we have?
Oh, yeah, Steve Ferrandi.
Steve, please state your full name and address. I think.
Okay, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks, council members. Jesse, I agree with you about the civil liberties aspect of it. I mean, we have a student police, now we have a toilet police. I mean, where does it end? I think you need to kind of go back to the drawing board and quantify it a little bit more and see actually really what percentage you think is leaking. How do we determine what's coming from a leaky sewer pipe to a leaky drain pipe and everything else? So, I mean, I think it's going to open up a red herring with cost to the town and inspections and all of that. So, I mean, if you can really
Then let's just go ahead and build a new multi-million-dollar sewer plant. How's that?
Can I finish my thoughts, Patrick?
Sure.
Please? Thank
Why
you.
not?
I just think that, if you can quantify it a little better rather than picking around at it, it's not that much of a problem, then, there's maybe some other different ways to address it that are whole full-blown about trying to go into someone's house and check in their sewer line and toilet. So thank you. That's my suggestion. Thanks,
all right, thank
Council.
you, Steve. All right, so we have a motion to table.
We had a second too.
We have a second. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva? Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, Evan Jasinski, aye.
Got it. Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
All right.
Trustee Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Patrick, you're gonna have to wait 2 more weeks to get amnesty on your sump pump there in your basement.
You know what? It's fine. This is a problem, and again, it's another can is going to get kicked down the road, but we'll punch it up and try it again. That's all you can do.
So 24 is a motion to direct the town manager, town engineer, and the finance director to provide tax credit up to $2,400 for all property owners who install a new well or rework an older well and display usage of the subject well for indoor or outdoor use. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion. Susan Cicilline Banano.
Second.
Seconded by Eva. Patrick or Eva, feel free to go ahead.
Ever, you want to take this one?
You can take it.
All righty. Okay. Again, water is becoming a commodity worldwide, and we need to think about future generations and start treating this resource with the respect that it deserves. We approximately use 2 million a day, 2 million gallons a day, and that's about what we produce through Suez, North Kingston, and the earlier discussion with the town engineer. So I propose that if someone puts in a private well, which the approximate cost is around $6,000 to $7,500, depending on, how deep or what kind of ground you're drilling through, and we would provide over a 3-year term $2,400 towards that cost, whether it be through the enterprise fund or off property taxes or a combination of both. But this will take stress off our continued stressed out water system.
Thank you.
So- I just had a question about the wells, and I think I reached out to you, John or Chris, about, wells in Narragansett. Is that a common thing?
And could it be common?
And could it be? Yeah, because I didn't know, when I saw it, I was kind of like, are there wells? I don't know.
We don't have a registration program for wells. There are at least a handful of people that do have irrigation wells on their property so that they can water. Because in fact, I know one of the last year when we had the water restrictions during the ban, one of our water department personnel went by a house and I said, "No, I got a well. That's my water, not yours, so I can do it." But generally, that's what I think Council Member Murray and Drzezinski are looking for here. Generally, we do have a handful of 5 or 6, private wells that are residential wells in town. But other than that, everybody's on the public water system. So really, I think what he's proposing is to try and promote people to put in their own well for irrigation use, and that that could take the impact off of the water system and the water supply. I'm not sure the numbers if Patrick mentioned there. I think we right now we're using about 3/4 gallons a day on a daily basis. We have up to 2.3 or so available from our suppliers, but usage wise, we're buying about 3/4 gallons. And I think our water meters are a little less than that from lost water and the like. But that's the issue with the summer demand and the summer restrictions that we have. It's all outdoor water use. We have enough water to go around for people to drink and to shower and to cook with. But when people are watering their lawns without, complying with our water use restrictions when necessary, that's when the water becomes scarce.
Washing their cars, washing their boats.
Right. So a question that I have is, how many homes are there that could actually have a well? I mean, isn't the water table too high in a lot of places for a well?
A well driller could come in and put it in, wherever. It's just a matter of where they sink the well and put the screen in, or whether it's a shallow well. Like I said, there's high groundwater in town here that there's available up top. But the other concern is we are so close to the ocean. If they go down and they got a brackish well, if there's any kind of saline in it, that would not be something you want to use for your.
Right. So, and there, I mean,
but it's feasible. I would imagine that they could come and do it. I wouldn't imagine that anybody with any small lot would want to be looking to do this, because they're probably generally not using as much outdoor water as others would use. But some of the larger properties, if they could put in a well and have their own irrigation system for their lawn, they might be able to do it.
I think we're just dealing with a lot of the issues that people talk to us about, and water is always one of my.
I understand.
The water.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
So I think water supply is a major vulnerability. So we're just trying to identify. The town needs to identify other sources, alternative sources of water. So that's kind of why we're bringing this forward, because I do hear a lot, and we always hear about the water quality, but we also hear about the water bans, the odd even. Everybody puts all their flowers out there or their garden, and it's so anyway. So that's kind of.
I think I applaud this initiative. It's a really good idea. I don't know how many people would take advantage of it, but I also think that if people were more aware of how precious water is, what a commodity it is, and how expensive it's going to become over time, maybe some of their habits could change too, because I think that's another piece too. I mean, you don't have to water a lawn. You don't have to take 6 showers a day. There's a lot you can do to prevent yourselves from overusing water as opposed to digging a well. And it doesn't cost anybody anything. And in fact, it could reduce their, depending on how much water they use, it could reduce their actual water bill. So I just, there's
and your sewer bill.
Absolutely. So, but my point is, I think this is a good initiative. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know how many people would take advantage of it. I wonder if we should be also looking at some of these other options that are, in a way, they're more passive and they're actually significantly less expensive if people will get on board. So we need to do some educating too, I think.
Yeah, I would agree, John. I would ask you as the engineer, we have a public water system where people use it. We buy it from Suez. I mean, it seems kind of antiquated or kind of backwards to then go back to the well. I think like educating people about the use and the importance of water might be a better direction. I don't know. That's why I kind of reached out to you guys, because I was like, even though I think there's a handful of wells in the town, as you're saying, seems like a minimal problem. Yes, water, the commodity, all that we need to be aware of and move towards improving. But I don't know if it's giving a tax incentive to the 5 people that have wells, and is that going to promote other people to want?
Well, for one thing, they have to be connected to the sewer. I mean,
Right.
they have to have town water. They have to be receiving town water before you have a credit. If you already have a well and you're not on town water, we're not going to give them a credit.
Well,
These are for
then,
people who are using the access
Well,
to the town
I
water.
think John wanted to say something. Hold on.
well, there's a lot of the town that is connected to public water, but not town water, which is Suez. So are those going to be
Well, either one.
Well, and I think, from a standpoint of paying for it, I would not be in support of the enterprise fund, paying the credit out.
Sure.
I think the financial incentive for anyone is that they won't be paying a water bill for all that use, and they'll see it come off of their sewer bill.
Right.
Because the people that are using all that, a lot, they're using excessive amounts of water for their lawn and their watering are the ones that are going to go over on the consumptive charges, and they're going to get billed excess charges there. So that's where they're going to get their money back. And maybe, it may be that, not enough people are aware of that, or again, they don't do the calculus on it to determine that, no, if I get a driller and drop a well in here, and put an irrigation well in, then I can save myself that money, and the payback is 3 or 4 years or whatever it may be. And again, because in town here, where it's not really a drinking water supply area, there's a couple spots in town that could support that, but not any kind of real large public wells. But in general, conservation of resources is something on everybody's mind, and I think the idea that they're paying for their own water or working it, they pay it one way or the other. They got to pay for it, whether it's paying power on a pump when they pump it themselves. But anything that can reduce the strain and the stress on our water utilities would be a benefit.
Well, without some type of incentive from the town, I don't think this program would work at all. I don't think somebody's going to do it on their own. You have to give them a little push, and in the long run, the town wins.
Right. I think it's a pretty creative solution. And the incentives do work. They definitely work. I can tell you, as someone who has bought multiple electric cars, the tax credits are that is the reason it pushed me over the edge into buying it, because it comes right off of the price. And if a well $6,000, I wouldn't even think of it, because it's gonna take so long to make back that $6,000 in water savings, that if it's $3,800 or $3,600, I would give it another thought. You know, for that convenience to be able to water the lawn in those even days when I just put grass seed down and know I could legally do that. And I'm just paying the $3,600 up front because I'm getting that credit. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if that is the right number. I mean, I don't know where the 2,400 comes from exactly, but it seems pretty good.
It's up to 2,400, so it can be changed.
And then if you're gonna market, I mean, again, like who's really thinking about putting in a well on like their quarter-acre lot? If I got a mailer from the town.
Well, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but you know, it's something. It's something that, well, listen, you know, I mean, everybody in the house has 3 cars and we wash them all the time. Now we just use the well. So, I mean, we got to do something. This is just a little baby step. We got to start thinking about finding our own resources for water for the future. Because this is another problem that's not going away. We either have to create some type of osmosis system with the salt water that's right on our doorstep, or find some well somewhere that we can rework and bring it this way. Because we can't rely on the town. We can't rely on Suez anymore. We have to start fending for ourselves for future generations.
All right, let's go to the public. Dan, who do we have?
We have Catherine Ciliberto.
Catherine, please state your full name and address.
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. Believe it or not, I think this is a pretty good idea, but I think the wording would have to be tightened up. So it's specifically for an irrigation well. And rather, it seems like a little bit open-ended here. And then there's this line about display usage of the subject well for indoor or outdoor use. That sounds like an expensive add-on. So I don't know if that should be a condition also. I'm thinking just like keep it simple. You install an irrigation well, we give you a tax credit, end of story. You know, this just seems a little bit more complicated than it has to be. Just my opinion. Thanks.
Thanks, Catherine. Would there be any, again, this is kind of like the last item where it seems like maybe it could use a little bit of massaging with the wording for exactly what we're voting on. Because again, if we approve this, then the program's approved, but still leaves a lot of questions unanswered. So do we want to like vote to direct, you know, the town manager and the engineer to put together the plan and then we can approve the plan?
That's basically what it is.
Well, I'm just saying it says that's not in the motion.
All right, we can amend it, or if you want to table, I'll rewrite the damn thing, and we'll get with the town engineer, and I'll have a meeting, and they can rewrite it any way they want. But we got to get this ball rolling, because my shelf life is ending real fast on this council. Okay, so. And these are issues that we need to address. We can't, this isn't looking for trouble. This is looking for solutions to problems that we have shortly coming in the future. And if we don't get on it now and pay attention to real problems, not fake problems, and get things done.
All right, I'll let anyone else speak. Anyone else? All right, it's your motion. So if you want to do an amendment, we could do that. If not, you can table it and put it.
Let's table it. Let's table it. I'll rewrite it, come back in 2 weeks, okay?
I'll second his motion to table.
Okay. Any comment before we vote? All in favor to table for 2 weeks, or you want to continue it?
Sure, whatever. Table, continue, whatever. It's coming back. Either way, it's coming back.
All right, this is to continue. All right, all in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Kaminsky, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopeck, aye.
Patrick?
Aye, let's go.
Josie Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. And we have a motion to approve this memorandum of understanding agreement between the town of Narragansett and the library board. Is there a motion?
I'll move the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Deb. Susan, do you want to give a quick summary?
Yeah, so this is a motion that has been, informally agreed on the town staff and the library board. We've been working, the working committee with the bond council, finance director, the town manager, president pro tem, myself, because it seems like as we're doing the project, we wanted to be clear on how the money sources were going to go. And we wanted to write it down so that everybody had the roadmap to how the bonds were going to be used, how the library funding was going to come into play. And so we worked really hard to build trust between the town and the working committee and the library board of trustees to say, do we all agree with this? And we spent a lot of time. I don't know if Dave Ferrara is going to be on, but he's an expert in the field with the bond council. And I know Chris Bagnoli can speak to it, and Lori, but I think, and John as well, anybody, Jim, anybody can speak to the agreement, you as well, Jesse, that just talks about a written agreement that we're going to agree how we use the different sources of money to finish this project.
Just so you know, Dave Ferrara is out there.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's excellent. I don't know if you want to pull him in first, if anybody wants to talk, but I mean, he has really been wonderful with, the bonds and how it can be used. So I suggest, Mr. President, that you have him speak to the agreement because he worked really hard on it.
Yep, David, if you want to put your hand up, Dan Holland can move you over as a panelist, and we'll, there you go.
Good evening.
David, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a memorandum of understanding that relates from its genesis with the Bond Act being passed in 2016 through the council's approval of proceeding further with it in 2017. Council actually authorized the issuance of the bonds, and then the use of the bonds to buy the Belmont and the Belmont supermarket, and reciting that after that there was approximately 3.4 million of bonds left to be issued. 2.4 has been issued and it's sold at favorable rates, as the council is aware. Then it goes, and from here on out, the point, we list what OLIS, the office of the State Office of Library Services, is offering up to 50% subsidy of our bond principal and interest payments if we meet certain qualifications, which Lori Kelly has described from time to time. We have reduced that by, we've already encumbered, meaning spent but not issued the bonds for the architect's contract, and we estimate that the library has indicated they have another $1 million in funding. This memorandum of understanding recites where we've been and where we're going, and indicates that the library is going to pursue the OLIS grants with the town's assistance. That it outlines that the working group would be the board chair, the library director and bond counsel, and the town engineer and the finance director and the town manager and others. And it sets forth how we're going to bring this project to fruition. Importantly, it indicates that with the construction contract in the future being beyond what the bond funds are available, the library is committing to raising the funds and placing them with the town treasurer as encumbered money, so the town can, with the unexpended, unencumbered bond funds of about 2.9, the extra $1 million we would enter into, the town then can enter into a construction contract for the projected construction costs.
It goes into infinite detail in my mind of what I thought, where it's been and where it's going. So with that being said, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank you because you have been so helpful to the town, to the whole working group. Your knowledge in the bonds and helping us with this agreement has been exceptional. So thank you, David.
Thank you. It's appreciated.
Yeah, I second that. You've definitely gone above and beyond, I think, what was expected. And this is great. This is a really great document that I think is needed. So thank you for your work on this. For the other council members, assuming that everyone's read through the document, what it does is really just take us from a place where we were in this really combative environment for years. We moved beyond that, and the town staff and the library board and the town council needs to all be on the same page because we're all on the same team. We can't have these miscommunications. So it's all laid out here. It says who's responsible for what, how communications are expected to go, what the schedule is for all phases of the project, what the working groups are, who's in that group. It's just formalized. It's an official document that we all agree we're going to follow. And it's going to make things a lot smoother going forward. So again, it's really great. I think it's actually a vital document for us to have. Thanks again.
Yeah, I did have questions earlier, and I did reach out to David, and he did answer them all. And it, I thought it was a great document too, and it does, like with all the issues that we've had in the past, it definitely spells it out, and it's specific. So thank you, David, for putting that together, and it does add a layer of protection to the town. So
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Patrick.
Yeah, Dave, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Boy, I bet you can't wait till this one's over.
Well, from the time you first called me about it, it's been a
this
while.
is like half the family fortune here on this one. So, but good job as always. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Great. Deb, do you have any questions for David while he's on?
I do not. I read all the documentation, all the information, and I have everything I need. Thank you. Except thank you, David.
No, thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. It doesn't look like we have any hands up from the public. So if there's no additional comment, I'll call the vote. All in favor, starting with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopak, aye.
Patrick?
Patrick Murray, aye.
Jesse View, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Great.
Thank you,
Thanks
David.
again, David. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Start with Susan.
Susan Cicilline Bonanno, aye.
Eva?
Eva Jasinski, aye.
Deb?
Deb Kopak, aye.
Patrick?
Aye. Thank you.
Jesse Pugh, aye. Motion approved 5-0. Thank you all. Have a good night. Deb,
Thanks,
enjoy your
David.
vacation.
Night.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
You're welcome.
Bye.